Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. Welcome to episode 177 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by Heart of the Brand, Lord Cognito. How are you, sir?
Yes. Busy. Duke's up, but busy.
Indeed.
Yeah, definitely Duke's up. Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
Tired.
Yes.
We were all talking before the show how I must be getting old. I'm approaching 29 in about a month's time. And I'm at the stage in my life where, I went to bed at 3 last night. I was like, certainly I'm going to sleep in. I'm tired. I'm already exhausted. I was stupid. I stayed up late because I was enjoying some games, how it happens. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just sleep till 11 today. Get my 8 hours. I'll start the day a little late. That's okay. Nope. I woke up at like 9 and I'm not like that. So something's happening and I'm not a fan of it. So I'm doing all right. But who's doing better? Gene Park, who's joining us here in this episode. Gene, welcome. As always, it's great to have you. How are you, sir?
Good. Yeah, I was telling Maddie, I started to notice that I couldn't sleep in as I was approaching and in around the 30 years of age, and you're just like, oh, maybe this is when it really starts happening. And then you, God, I remember when I hit 30, and I was like, oh my God, I'm old, right, Cog? Remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, brief me on this. I was telling Maddie, because I was thinking about it the other day because, right now, a lot of things are hanging on my 30th birthday. Like, a lot of projects I've been working on are going to end there, and I feel like I'm going to have this big come to Jesus, look in the mirror moment, and I got to be prepared for it, right? Like, mentally, I got to be ready to not have an existential crisis. How did you gentlemen avoid the breakdown?
Let Gene go,
or you just?
I had a huge birthday party. That included people having name tags and everything.
Oh wow!
And I had a giveaway at my party too. Alaska Airlines was giving away two free tickets to somewhere, I forget exactly.
Okay.
Marriott Hotel came in with a sponsorship with a 3-night stay. That people can win. And it was a karaoke competition, and it was crazy. Yeah, I had a piñata full of condoms and bras and cigarettes. all my favorite things. delicious bras and cigarettes. And then that was I had a new girlfriend, so that was dope, and life was pretty good.
All right, so you were on the upswing.
I was on the upswing. I was like, this is my time. I'm about to hit peak. I'm about to hit the level cap, right? of humanity, right? Because when you hit 30, you're about as strong as you can possibly be. Mentally, you're about as smart as you can possibly be. Maybe, hopefully not. But but you're definitely about you're kind of at the level cap, the soft cap for life.
So I have to enjoy this while it lasts.
That's what I enjoy while it lasts, man.
Well,
maybe 40 could be the soft cap too. I don't know. Maybe I could be there, but
That's
people always say,
me.
I was going to say, Cog, you got the...
Cog, look at Cog.
The fountain of youth, man. Everyone's always... I'm not calling you old, by the way, when I say this, but people always seem surprised by your age, right? And so it's one of those things where you have the young spirit, the young energy, you got the physique, of course. You got it all.
Yeah, he maxed out vigor,
Yeah.
He's got the vigor.
Yeah.
the vigor and the stamina,
Yeah, man, look, man, first, it's funny because when I was younger, I was always jealous of Sov and King. Everybody had their mustaches. I still look like a damn child for so long.
But now you're winning.
Yeah, so it's funny. I remember being so sad and jealous of everyone who was maturing so much more faster than me. And then it's obviously when you get to 30, I didn't remember too much because I was just, like I said, I'm in my prime. I'm still having fun. It just is okay, I'm 30, but I still feel like I'm in my 20s and stuff like that. But I will say 40, I made a big deal. 40, I made a huge deal. I had rented out some bougie rooftop New York nightclub thing.
Okay.
I mean, everybody come through. We all suited up, booted up. Like it was a thing. Like, bro, that was probably one of my most fun moments because I even got people who I know hate doing that to do it. So it's family, friends, coworkers I haven't seen from a long time. And I wanted to bring 40 in special. So 40 was the one that I knew I was going to have a little bit of more, thought behind it. You know what I'm saying? Say, I've been around the earth 40 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Make a statement out of it. Okay. All right.
That was it.
Good. All right. So I need to, what I'm hearing here is I need condoms, bras, and a huge party. That sounds good.
Yes. Agreed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in to what is an Xbox podcast, believe it or not. Every week we go live on Thursdays for patrons. You can find us on free feeds on Sunday on the Last Stand Media YouTube channel. You can listen to us on audio feeds. If you want to write in, which we have, I think, over a dozen this week, patreon.com/Last Stand Media. Of course, with the release of Hellblade 2 this week, we got a lot of write-ins. So we thank you for being part of our show and to really set the tone in what is going to be a Ninja Theory focused episode. Let's start off with a little report here from Jez Corden, who says that the next game from Ninja Theory has already been greenlit. Quote, some people on social media have been trying to spin the message, which was, we'll get into a moment here, a statement from Ninja Theory ahead of the game's launch, as a negative, given Microsoft's recent closures of studios like Tango Gameworks, with some extrapolating that Ninja Theory, as a smaller team within the Microsoft pantheon, may be targeted by Microsoft cost cutters in the financial suite. However, we can confirm via our trusted sources that in addition to Project Mara, Ninja Theory's next game has already been greenlit. There are no plans whatsoever to close the studio anytime soon, end quote. David Markham has the first write-in of the show. Howdy, gents. A lot of write-ins about Hellblade 2, but most importantly, apparently the next Ninja Theory game is greenlit. If I'm being perfectly honest here, we've waited a long time for Hellblade 2 for a game that was mediocre. Sure, it looked beautiful, but that's it, really. How can we look forward to these games anymore? So this one was an interesting statement because when I saw Jez's report here, I have to go with my gut, which is I wonder a bit who fed him the information. I believe that it's true. Like, I believe that the game's been greenlit, but my skeptical eye, and we briefly discussed this, Gene, ahead of the show, skeptical eye kind of made me go, this doesn't necessarily guarantee the future of the team. Not that I want them to go anywhere, but knowing that they have another project on the horizon doesn't guarantee that they're going to keep going. The results aren't even in yet for Hellblade 2, so it'd just be ill-advised for anyone to run away with that kind of logic. But also, you have to think where the info is coming from, which is likely Ninja Theory, right? Because a lot of the dooming surrounding their game probably isn't great for them. They put out this big studio statement, which I'll read in a little bit here. And a lot of people were like, this is an obituary. And so I feel like this is likely from them to hopefully calm the concern around their team. So more people are focusing on the game that they made rather than the future of the company. But I'm curious as to your guys' read of Ninja Theory having more projects on top of Project Mara. This is a team that we now see took a very long time to make what was a short but beautiful video game. And how you're feeling about more on the horizon, how you're feeling about the future of this team. Gene, since we briefly discussed it ahead of time, I want to just kick it to you and see how you're feeling about this news.
Yeah, I believe it. I have no reason to doubt our good boy Jez, and I'm sure that whatever the sources fed him are probably accurate. But as you said, it's not a guarantee. I think part of it is it is PR damage control, especially because from the deeper understanding of Tango, right, is and Austin is that they didn't have any project right now, right. And they didn't have anything greenlit. So because there's not anything firing up in the kitchen right now, they said, okay, well, no love lost there. Maybe we can cut off that leg, right? So I feel like the Ninja Theory bit was to stave off that angle, right? And then, but we also have to remember that Xbox is totally closed studios that are working on things also, and it just didn't. Or they've canceled projects anyways, right? Yeah. You can easily just cancel a project and everything too. So. Who knows? But honestly, our good friends over at Kind of Funny, the Snowbike Mike was all upset because their review discussion of Hellblade 2 eventually evolved or devolved, depending on your view, into is Ninja Theory going to close down or not? And it's too bad that that discussion has to take place. At the same time, reality is not a vacuum, right? And we are a podcast, so I think it is fair to kind of bring it up. If the conversation allows, and it's not our fault, that it's not the people's fault that they look at Ninja Theory and they see doom and gloom. It's Xbox's fault because they did that. If Xbox didn't do that, then there was no real talk of shuttering studios in January or February, right?
No.
When we saw the developer direct, nobody was thinking, "Oh my God, Ninja Theory is in trouble." No, Ninja Theory is in trouble. The only reason why this happened is because of the shutdown of Tango and Arcane specifically, two beloved studios with a lot of history, and that was what was insulting to the culture of gaming, right? Yeah. And that's why people who are defensive of the culture of gaming are now feel a little bit protective or worried for Ninja Theory. So I don't think there's some people are saying it feels like people want Ninja Theory to fail, and maybe I'm sure that's true, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that want Xbox to fail, but I think a lot of it is that it's just a lot of concern,
Yeah.
Maybe it's concern trolling, maybe it's virtual signaling a little bit, right?
Of course,
but I do think that generally that there is real concern that a good studio might shut down.
I have the message here, and then I'll kick it to you, Cog. Mm-hmm. They write, "Hi, everyone. As we sit on the eve of the release of Senua Saga Hellblade II, I wanted to thank you, our fans, on behalf of everyone here at Ninja Theory. We see you and we hear you when you give us such love and support, when you tell us how much Senua means to you, when you tell us how much you are looking forward to the game and how much faith you have in us to continue Senua's story in a way that does justice to the connection so many of you have to her and to Hellblade. From the very beginning of Senua Saga Hellblade 2, we've had you in mind, and I truly hope that when you play the second chapter of Senua's story, you'll find that familiar connection once again, and that also so many more people will find their way to Senua and her world too. Making video games is difficult, much like Senua. We as a team have been guided by a conviction to achieve our quest to make a game that sinks you deep into Senua's world and to take you on a journey that leaves you thinking and feeling. I believe we have achieved our quest, and I hope you'll all agree. I'm very proud of the game, very proud of our team, and very proud of you, our fans, who have supported us on this magical journey. Thank you, Dom Matthews, studio head." So, Cog, obviously we have the news here that a new Ninja Theory game is greenlit. We have that message here. James Hill wrote in saying, "Hey, all natural double Ds. What do you guys think about the statement put out by Ninja Theory's Dom Matthews? Some are calling it obituary. I see it as saying Hellblade 2 is Ninja Theory's swan song and the end is near for the studio. Have a maybe I should listen to the voices in my head kind of day." The Cog, man of the people.
Yes, sir.
What is the read of the situation here for Ninja Theory? And the reason we're starting off like this, some people may be like, "Oh my God, they're starting off negatively." But to what Gene mentioned, I would like to have our conversation on Hellblade 2 later just be about the game as much as possible, unless, as Gene said, it naturally comes up. So it's good just to kind of kick this out here nice and early. But Cog, I want to hear from you, man. Like, what are we feeling about the studio message? I personally didn't read deep into it. I was like, they're thanking their fans and they're saying, this is I mean, even if you didn't like Hellblade 2, which, spoiler alert, I wasn't a big fan of it. This is a team that cares and they try hard. They're very artsy. And so it's a big deal for them. And so they're going to put out a heartfelt post. So I think the news is kind of misaligning their intentions here. I could be completely off the mark.
Yeah, to be clear. That's how I felt too. I thought it was just a message too.
Yeah, like I feel like we've seen it tons of times.
Again, you can't blame people for interpreting it another way, but
sure. So, Cog, what about you? Yeah. What are we feeling about the message and the news?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similarly. I just feel like, video games is difficult. I really agree with Dom on that. This is a journey, man. Now with game development, 4 to 5 years, even in 6 years for some titles, when you get to that release date, there's a lot of emotion, right? And I think this is something that I would see standard. I will say in agreement with Gene's comment in the sense of the proximity to obviously what just happened with the studio closures with Tango and Arcane Austin and so on and so forth. I can understand the community sentiment like, damn, I hope they're okay. Like, we don't want to lose Ninja. We don't want anything to happen to them. So I get the sentiment based on the proximity of the last announcement and then this announcement. But I didn't look at it like this was a death sentence. I just looked at it like, man, we made it. This is our love letter. We hope you love it. We're proud of it. And I guess the only thing I will say that had me say, okay, Razor, probably was the, proud of the game, proud of the team, very proud of you who have supported our journey, that kind of thing. I hope you'll agree. Sometimes that, as a Bungie fan, sometimes that can be construed because I remember a similar situation happened right before the Forsaken DLC came out. And this is when Bungie was with Activision, right? And the thought process at that time was shareholders were like, hey, it didn't perform the way we would have liked. And I remember a comment from Luke Smith saying, hey, no, we're proud of what we did. So that the only proud comments, when I saw those only that got me thinking a little, you know what I'm saying? Just, because to let you know that, hey, whatever you may think, we love what we did here.
Sure.
Right. So that just something to keep in mind. But I'm not going to look too deep. Obviously, we respect Jazz. Just put the reporting out. Oh, the most important part is for me is Project Mara. You know, I really am excited to see what they do because in playing Hellblade, I know we're going to get into it. There are certain aspects of it that I'm like, man, they can do horror if they really wanted to dive into this.
Yes.
Right. There's certain aspects of that game where I'm like, man, horror is a part of it. So I'm excited. Like I said, we hope they get the opportunity and we'll see what happens.
Excellent. Well, that's enough Ninja Theory for now. We'll be all over them later. Next up on the list, another rumor. More PS5 games are coming to Xbox as soon as late 2024, according to insider Nate Drake. He has yet to confirm the list of games, but I'm sure we can wager a guess. I don't know if there's actually a ton to sit on here in this conversation, and because we all kind of know and understand its inevitability. But nonetheless, Cog, what are you thinking about this news here of more? Sorry, I think I flipped it in my script. More Xbox games coming to PS5.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I was wondering. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, more PS5 games coming to Xbox. We wish. Freudian slip here in the script. Sorry, everyone.
Freudian slip. Wake up that late.
We getting that Helldivers, B. Helldivers,
right?
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be dope. Actually, you know.
Hell yeah! Oh man, for sure. Look, me and Maddie, we said this before. Like when we saw the business announcement, you know, me and you both looked at each other and said, okay, there's definitely room to believe that there are going to be more than just 4 with this experiment, especially if it goes well. And we know we have some short-term data, right, on Sea of Thieves and how well it did. We have some short-term data on Grounded as far as on the PlayStation Store and so forth. I'm curious about Switch. I think Grounded is one of the only one that's like cross-gen and on all platforms kind of thing. But I think with multiplayer games especially, you know what I'm saying? So it's something to look out for. I wouldn't be too surprised, but I am very curious how they handle the message and what would be quote unquote game number 5 kind of thing. Would it be what Xbox fans consider the sacred, the holy grail, the Big Mac, large fries and shake of Halo, Forza, Gears? Like they start playing with that, the Xbox community going, you know, is it worth that brand damage, right? Kind of thing. So yeah, we got to see. So that's where I'm at.
I with this big Starfield blowout coming soon, I wonder about that. Gears collection rumors continue to swirl, and I wonder about that. You know, like these things returning, or Fallout 3 remaster, like when things return, that they're multi-plat, like that sort of push. We already know that there's this Project Latitude internally at Microsoft and Xbox where they're trying to just no red line, like, hey, everything goes to PlayStation basically. But yeah, I think this is, again, inevitability. We've been saying for a while. We never really heard much from Gene on this, though, because it's usually just you and I, Cog. So what do you make of the news, Gene, that more almost did it again. More Xbox games are coming to PS5. Sorry, everyone. I want my God of War so bad.
Your heart's in it.
I'm waiting for the day for Halo as a huge Halo fan. You guys know I'm just a huge Halo fan. I'm waiting for the day for Halo to be on PlayStation. Kind of ready for it. I feel like I've been mentally ready for that for decades now, because it'd be cool to see the PlayStation sacred symbols on the Xbox or on the Halo UI. Know, it would be pretty cool. So I don't know. What else is there? I guess Sunset Overdrive obviously would be a huge one.
Yeah, God, that's so overdue.
It'd be good for Insomniac fans to finally get a taste of the prototype Spider-Man, basically. You know,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that game was prototype Spider-Man. You know,
the movement, the wall running, everything.
Oh yeah. Prototype, literally, even probably.
Yeah,
you know?
Literally.
to echo that old great game series, but yeah.
Oh God, I love Prototype. I hope Xbox. There's a couple of things we're seeing in the rumors now. That Xbox is kind of they saw my displeasure and they're like, okay, how do we get Maddie back?
Yeah,
there's one in particular I got in this write up here where I'm like,
I was thinking about you. I was like,
boys.
He talking slick.
Yeah.
Execute Order 66.
Yeah, literally Order 66 for me. Like
Yes.
you want to win me over. There's a couple of moves that that we're hearing rumors about. I'm like, okay, Fallout 3 remaster, okay.
Yeah.
But then you're hearing
exactly.
like, we'll get into it. Like,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
JRPG rumors. I'm like,
the other rumor. Yeah, it's kind of like Assassin's Creed pressing the red button and be like, okay, Japan now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yo, sales down. Japan.
Oh shit! Everyone hated Valhalla. Okay, we're going to Japan finally after 20 years.
Facts. That button. Get out of jail free card. Let's go.
That's why when people, I don't know if we're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows later, but that's why when people who, obviously the Black Samurai is dope, right? But I want people who are conspiracy theorying, like, why now though, Ubisoft? Why now at this particular moment in time?
I get it.
Yeah. All right. Let's actually move into that next topic here. So there was a report, if you will, or I guess just a statement from Special Nick of Xbox Era, who had said that fans of Xbox 360 JRPGs may have a little surprise on the way. If what he's hearing is accurate, and people are thinking, obviously, the two crown jewels in Blue Dragon and one of my favorites ever in Lost Odyssey. Again, this would be a very easy win for them, for me, because I love Lost Odyssey. I mean, for a lot of people who talk about Final Fantasy and where it was at in its early teens, right? A lot of people fell off with 13. I'm a 13 apologist. 13-2 is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, but I will not deny the argument that Lost Odyssey is the true Final Fantasy 13. And it's so funny because it's sitting on the competitor's platform the whole time. Lost Odyssey, though, is absolutely, I think, one of the most overlooked JRPGs ever. It is that good. It is a phenomenal story, phenomenal themes. It's got some of the saddest writing, incredible gameplay. It's got that Final Fantasy feel where like the world just expands. It's still graphically incredible. Has one of the best, most seamless transitions and introduction to a JRPG I've ever seen, from cutscene to gameplay. It's incredible. Like, they knocked it out of the park, and it's from the original creators of Final Fantasy. Like, Sakaguchi worked on it, Uematsu worked on it, and so on. Like, they had everyone on it. It really is a Final Fantasy game, just with a different name, and it's phenomenal. So if they bring that back, I would lose my shit. I am not worried about this, but if they bring back something like Blue Dragon is a more fitting one with what's happened recently with Akira Toriyama. A lot of his work is being brought back. Sandland kind of randomly coming back. It would kind of fit that recent trend of like, well, let's bring back Blue Dragon as well. And I wouldn't be against that, although I've played very little Blue Dragon. There's other 360 JRPGs like Operation Darkness, Spectral Force 3. There's another one off the top of my head that I'm forgetting. Infinite Undiscovery from Square Enix. So there's a lot there. So I always tell people, Xbox 360 had amazing JRPGs. That's why people get so up in arms about what's going on with Xbox and their lack of Japanese support, because they had it so good. They had an exclusive Tales game, Tales of Vesperia. Like, they had some exclusive stuff there that was excellent. So if this rumor is true, I don't want to get too crazy, too out of pocket, but I adore Lost Odyssey, and I would be over the moon about this. This would, like, okay, we talk about letter grades for showcases. This would literally I give them the curve. I mean, like, if I'm seeing the C, I'm like, that's a B. It's you got me, Lost Odyssey. That's a B. But Gene, I saw you nodding your head through a lot of this. What 360 JRPGs would you like to see come back this generation if Xbox has a chance of winning us over once more?
It's got to be Lost Odyssey, easily. I played that game back then too, and I was shocked. I was just shocked at the quality of writing. I still think it's better writing than most games.
Yeah.
You mentioned the transition. Take that, Hellblade II.
Easy.
We were already doing it back then. Sakaguchi was already doing that back then with Lost Odyssey. What other JRPGs were there for Xbox 360?
Did you ever play Infinite Undiscovery? It's kind of like an action RPG.
One, no.
Operation Darkness is really cool. It's super expensive nowadays, but it's a think Fire Emblem with vampires during a World War II setting. It's really cool. Permadeath and everything. Doesn't play the best, but it's really cool. 360 is like a treasure trove of really weird, wild, different JRPGs. And I think Xbox would be wise to just go mine some of those old things. I mean, you look at Nintendo, look what they're doing with their GameCube library. They're just gradually bringing them back, and they're making bank off it. They're still best-selling game on Switch is a Wii U title. Like, I feel like more people should borrow from the Nintendo playbook in that regard. Like, they just do a really good job at taking old things and re-releasing them at the right time, and they do stupid well. I know they have better picks at Xbox than these niche JRPGs I'm talking about. The point being is, I would love to see them mine some of the Left Behind 360 library. Although I will also say, in fairness, Lost Odyssey still plays really well in back compat. So I don't know how much they feel it necessitates a remake or a remaster or a re-release. But Cog, what do you make? You were a JRPG guy growing up. 360 JRPGs coming to the platform. Any thoughts or feelings on this?
Would be nice. Yeah, for sure. Lost Odyssey, of course. Like, these are games that make people really invest into the platform and show that Xbox was really serious about Japanese gaming and support. And they already had, in my opinion, the zeitgeist that generation, but like they had that great flavor to them. They had all these great experiences. I'm also thinking about, even though I know they talk about 360 JRPGs, I'm also thinking about Square involved with this, in the sense of, we know that relationship. We see their recent reports, the profits were down 70%. They're talking about an aggressive multi-platform strategy. When I hear stuff like that, obviously we knew about, the visual statement of being on stage with Phil and those guys in Japan, and them saying themselves that more games are going to come to Xbox. And we just had a developer direct, the spiritual successor to House of Mana, being shown, right? I mean, Secret of Mana is being shown. So I expect Square to have some flavor here and include themselves in the party if the rumors are to be true. That's my guess. That's my prediction.
I would love it if Infinite on Discovery came back. So that'd be a fun pick. That was basically their attempt at a Tales of style game. So I'd be for that. Next up here on the news list, Lies of P DLC confirmed for the second half of 2024. We will absolutely be there. This is a no-brainer, in my opinion. If anyone, I mean, I raved about Lies of P for weeks on this show and just how good it was. Gene, pretty sure you were on our spoiler cast and review discussion, so I know you love it. This is a phenomenal game, and there's very few games nowadays. Like, I wait around for the next entry of DLC, but this is one where I've kept it installed. I cannot wait to play it again. And I mean, I'm really curious. I'm begging people, if don't let this story get spoiled for you. Like, it is a great Souls-like game, but don't let the story get spoiled for you. If you're sitting there going like, oh, I like Souls games. Yeah, I never got around to it. I'm worried that the DLC announcement, you're going to see that and go, why are they doing that? And ruin the whole game for yourself.
That's true. The DLC announcement itself could be a spoiler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Holy
yeah.
crap.
Like, I want people to be careful because one of the best authentic surprises of that game was its story. And even with expectations, the ending had that humongous impact where I still think about it. What they're doing is so bold and different. I just highly recommend people, if you have yet to, please check it out. But Gene, how are we feeling about this second half of 2024? Looking busy for us. Are we going to squeeze in a little Lies of P action if we can?
Same, yeah. Lies of P hasn't been installed on my Steam Deck. It's ready to go. I've been kind of thinking about that. I've been playing again. We'll talk about it more. But I've been playing Elden Ring. But I was like, yeah, but Lies of P really kept my skills sharp in for Elden Ring. And then I started to confuse, because you know how Souls games kind of start to bleed together. Like, I started to wonder, like, my memories of Lies of P started to bleed into Elden Ring. Which is why I like the ending of Dark Souls 3, or like the finale of Dark Souls 3, not the ending. I'm not spoiling anything, guys. But like the finale of Dark Souls 3, yeah, but the finale of Dark Souls 3 implies that like everything is just kind of meshing together. It's a beautiful moment, and that's kind of, but like Lies of P is kind of like now in that molasses of memory, of Souls games, because it was that good. It feels like a Souls game,
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. It was their first game. That's why I want to play Stellar Blade, because I hear a lot of people saying the same thing. Like, wow, this is really
you haven't played Stellar Blade? Yeah,
no, not yet. No.
Yeah, you would enjoy it too if you like Lies of P.
Yeah,
the story won't be there, but the gameplay is solid.
That's what's funny is I didn't like the gameplay much in the in the demo I tried out, but I've heard that with the upgrades it gets way better. So that's why I'm gonna.
Much better.
I want to play it this summer. Is the idea I have in mind.
Yeah, no rush. Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, I know, right?
There's no juicy Stellar Blade story to tell there. So,
Cog, what about you? I know you didn't play Lies of P much. Or at all, I don't think. But
I was forced by a co-host. I had to at least try it because I'm not the Souls guy. Yeah. But no. I mean, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because generally as a person, who when you get to the older age, part of getting to older age and being healthy is not being stressed and not being mad at life. And those type of games do that to me. I don't want to throw controllers. But all jokes aside, I really, really enjoyed that experience when I did play it. I was like, wow, this is really polished. And wow, it does seem to have a narrative. And I'm like, okay, if anyone, I would probably stick with this one if I had to pick because it definitely suit my style. But yeah, DLC, getting for the second half, that studio to me punched way above their weight. It's cool to see them get more content. And yeah, everyone agrees with you guys in the sense, this was a really fantastic experience in this whole genre.
Yeah, I just can't wait for more, bro. I'll take that every day of the week. So really looking forward to what they cook up. Coming a little bit sooner than I thought it would, honestly. Yeah. All right. GTA 6, according to Take-Two, is launching fall 2025. And they said the reason that they narrowed it down to that window is they feel extremely confident. So, Cog, how are we feeling about this? How do we feel about, Rockstar games are famously delayed at least a year. So everyone's saying, all right, see you fall 2026. Do we think this is coming out end of next year?
So they say. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean,
yeah.
All I will say is, whoever dropping your album, you better move your album back.
Yeah.
Don't you drop around GTA
Move your
6.
dates.
Move your date, because if they do drop fall 2025, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, obviously what we saw looked phenomenal. They got Miami. They got the thing looking right down there, man. They got the culture looking right from all perspectives. I always feel like GTA kind of takes a snapshot and a parody of life or certain things of what's going on in the culture, and it looks phenomenal. I will say though, the longer we don't have GTA, the bad it is for the hardware industry though, because I think I consider GTA one of those, I could call them like the Sinister Six, those games that you live in, and for the most part, most of the cross-generational guys, the PS4 guys, they're not jumping over. They're like, hey, I got Fortnite. I can play GTA 5 online. I can do all the things I want. They don't necessarily need to jump. There's no next-gen requirement. That's a game. And the fact that we don't have Switch 2 and we don't have GTA, I think is really hurting the console hardware business significantly. So when that drops, it'll be big for the culture.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. How you feeling about the launch window, Gene?
Yeah, I mean, every Rockstar game is always delayed, so it's kind of a bummer because you're probably going to expect that this is probably going to be delayed and it's probably going to go into 2026, which is crazy long, man.
Sure, it's so early.
That's a long time. I'm going to be 44 years old. GTA 6, really?
But, with the youngins.
Yeah, but Colin's right. Cog is right though. That the culture is represented really well. One of my favorite YouTubers, your boy Roshi. He never played GTA 5 before, so he started playing it recently, and he was like, "Wow, these sound like real black people."
The brothers is in,
because he was just like laughing the whole time. He was just like it just feels like he's just watching his friends like just fuck around, which is so funny. So that's exactly what if they're the Rockstar has some really, really good writers there.
Yes.
Where they really feel like real people. They really talk like real people. Then their sarcasm, their everything is just really good. So
it's so
even if Red Dead 2 I didn't like as much, like the writing is still phenomenal, right? Like Arthur Morgan is still such a wonderful character. And the character writing is just so good. So I'm excited for it. And yes, it's going to be so good for the console sales. Kong is absolutely right. People are waiting for this, it's Sinister Six is an interesting way to put it, because sometimes there's some games or series where okay, this is the one I upgrade for. Final Fantasy VII. I'm sure there's a handful of Final Fantasy people who are like, okay, well, Rebirth is only on PS5, so I guess I'll buy a PS5.
Yeah.
So, and PS5 sales are pretty good. So even if Rebirth sales may not be. But
it's just a shame.
They're still going to move consoles because Rebirth is only on PS5 right now. I would have bought it by now. Totally.
With GTA 6 is one of those games that you look at, and Elder Scrolls falls in the same category where you analyze what phase you were in your life. The last entry, like for me, GTA 5 was senior year in high school, right at the start of the school year. I remember going to like the launch party, or the midnight release at GameStop, and the line was like a mile long.
Such
a big
you are a
moment.
completely different human being now, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's totally different part of my life. Same thing with Skyrim. Skyrim was like the start of my YouTube career. It's like when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.
Crazy to hear.
That'll be, who knows what I'll be doing by that point in like 4 more years. So it's crazy to think about.
GTA 5 I actually reviewed like on time. I wasn't a full-time games journalist, but I was still like, helping out my old site gamecritics.com. And yeah, I got GTA 5 really early. I was able to play that and review it on an embargo date back then.
That's awesome. I remember getting an email because I submitted a review copy request. I mean, my channel had like 20K subs. I don't know what the fuck I thought I was doing there, but they got back to me. Rockstar got back to me and they're like, yeah, we'll give you one. And then like they just never responded again.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. They're like, get this man out of our inbox. I was like, I'm chilling. We're good. I'm all taken care of. This is going to be my big blow up moment. I think it was all meant to be. I was never meant to be a Rockstar YouTuber.
Oh, man.
I mean, you wouldn't have much to talk about, really.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Bethesda is pretty good. At least they're fairly productive, and there's a lot going on. That
was the correct timeline.
Yes, that was the correct timeline. That's a perfect way of putting it. This is a really cool report. DualShockers reports Star Wars Total War game is coming from Creative Assembly within the next couple of years. The report also claims that there are 3 games in development at the studio, and they're unsure which is the furthest along in development. So this could be a game that's 5 years down the line, could be a year down the line. No one really knows, but what you want to talk about a perfect fit. I've never really played a Total War game, but that'll change when this comes out. That'll change when this shit comes out.
Now. You in.
I will never touch Total War until I see Star Wars come out now. Like that's what it's guaranteed for me. I know people love this series. I've messed around with Civ. I've messed around with Age of Empires, that sort of stuff. But Total War, I've never messed around with before. I've heard really good things, but a Star Wars game, oh dude, over. It's over for me. That's what we call a danger game. This is what we call a life changer game, because it's one that it's going to lead to some bad decision making. And I think a game like Tekken 8 taught me, it's like, Manny, you're a very responsible human being, but sometimes you will make the bad choice if it's the right game. And with Tekken 8, I did make the bad choice oftentimes. I neglected my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth review for Tekken, for God's sakes. Like I made a lot of poor choices. So hopefully this comes out at a time in my life where I don't need to make a smart decision, because that would work out very well for me. But nonetheless, gents, we'll start with you, Cog. What do you think of a Star Wars Total War game? Does this ring any bells for you? Are you excited about this?
Not really. I'll be honest, I'm not a Total War guy, but I do resonate with you when it's a franchise that you love in a genre that you haven't really, not that you haven't tried it, but just that's different. I do like that. I do like when you see kind of like what I consider the spinoff, right? You got something that, that you love and you want to see a different take on it. So yeah, I think if it's, trying to think what would get me to be if they RTS'd it or something, like probably something stupid like MCU or something. I don't know. Something is, we all got our addictions, our guilty pleasures that when we see it, if it's in a different genre, like for example, right now, I know mine. I know I'm a core fraud alert on myself, which is Marvel Rivals. Like I sat there, I was like, Overwatch look okay. Soon as they put MCU guys, it's now I'm in. Now, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's one of those kind of things for me. What about you, G? As far as like the Star Wars Total War games or RTS or just in general, those type of franchises?
I mean, you guys watched my Star Wars podcast episode. I'm done with I'm the complete opposite of Maddie, where you put Star Wars on it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm never playing Total War ever again.
Oh man.
I get it. Yeah, you know what did kind of tickle my pickle though a little bit though is
that's an interesting one. Good pause, but
I don't know how else to put it. I'm sorry, guys, but you know what did prick my fancy though is the Star Wars mods for Starfield. There's this one.
You saw that Mandalorian joint?
Yeah, he was able to turn Starfield entirely into just basically a Star Wars game with little droids running around and stormtroopers. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, that is interesting, because you can just ignore all of Star Wars story, right? Yeah, it's a story that I don't like anymore. I don't like the characters. I don't like the story, but I do like the lasers. I like the aesthetic. The stormtroopers still look dope. The ships are still fucking cool. Yep. The Death Star is still awesome. Everything is like that's still cool about Star Wars is still cool. And you just lay it over on Starfield, which is still a great game, and we'll talk about that more later. And it's like, that could be a really fun way to play Starfield.
Yeah,
just make your own.
The comeback is on. Well, I'll say it early. The comeback is on here. Watch out. I'll talk to you all in the what we're playing section. The comeback is on. Yeah. All right. Assassin's Creed Shadow got officially revealed, and it includes a lot of new details here. We got 2 write-ins. I'm going to go through them both because there's really 2 ways we can take this conversation with Assassin's Creed Shadows. There's the game part and then the scuttlebutt surrounding it. Unkempt Talk is your first write-in on this topic. Hey, Dukes, just wanted to extend the conversation about Assassin's Creed Shadows with a couple extra thoughts. Do gamers just want the same thing over and over again? Isn't it refreshing to have a new samurai game based on a unique and fascinating historical figure in Yasuke, plus having now a Japanese female shinobi as your other protagonist? Quite frankly, Assassin's Creed with a male Japanese samurai kind of sort of already exists. It's called Ghost of Tsushima. It's freaking awesome, and it seems like there's a sequel on the way. Jokes aside, why do you think so many gamers are upset with Yasuke? And do you ultimately think the outrage will manifest into a loss of sales? Have a let's enjoy something new kind of day. Meanwhile, Kazdan Risk writes in, this one's really interesting. Hey, Dukes, how are we feeling about Assassin's Creed Shadows? I feel the conversation has become more about Yasuke, but I want to talk about the gameplay. Ryan McCaffrey from IGN phrased it as, they're building a straight-up Splinter Cell game, mechanically speaking, with a light meter on the UI, pacifist playthroughs, creating darkness by torches and lanterns, etc. Shadows could finally deliver a modern stealth Ubisoft game, but everyone is talking about the outrage. Interested to hear your thoughts. Take care. So yeah, we haven't seen gameplay yet as of the time recording this. A lot of the conversation is around Yasuke and his presence in the game. Should he or should he not be there? Is it historically accurate if he's there? I want to kick it to you, Cog, first, of course, because I think on the cultural aspect, you have the most authoritative opinion here on it all. So I want to hear from you on that. The only thing I'll just say initially is Assassin's Creed is not a historically accurate series. It's based within history, but I want to hear what you're thinking, Cog.
This is the first character with a historical character anyways. So it's like,
absolutely. And Gene, you were in there in ILP when we had this discussion. And again, as a person, a person who just played the early Assassin's Creed, right? The ones I call the Jerusalem ones, where you go slow and you go through the crowd and stuff like that. After that, I kind of dropped off because I felt like it went a very action heavy. And I know those are the more popular ones, the Odysseys and stuff like that. I get it. But for me, since I fell off at that point, I was asking Solve and Attic, who stayed consistent with the series, what is Assassin's Creed now considered? And I was like, because it seems like historical fiction, right? As opposed to this one-on-one account. They're like, yeah, like a lot of this stuff is not the case. So obviously with Yasuke, it resonates real for me because I'm like, wow, this is actually a figure who was in history that we don't actually have all the details about, but it's super cool because what we do know is obviously the retainer and being a samurai with Nobunaga, and I thought that is really cool, that era and getting the information there. And then obviously we do have a secondary protagonist with the female shinobi. So look, I think it's cool. I think that at the end of the day, it's cool to have that. I know this is a tricky word sometimes, that level of inclusion inside gaming sometimes. I know it's word that taboo these days. You. I know. But I think, honestly, let's just get to the brass tacks. A lot of reason why this discourse is happening is because of the sweet baby conversations, right? And I think that has caused an upswell of people in anti-inclusion or forced diversity, or what people are considering woke culture and stuff like that. And the only thing I will empathize slightly with that group is that obviously, we want to know what level of involvement. And then also, some people may have issues with the messengers up top or leadership at top. But I still stand on my stance that diversity and inclusion is necessary in gaming. And I think that's the thing we have to be careful about. You can question maybe someone, the leader, or you want more information about something. I think that's fair. But to sit there and say, we don't want this, we want the same, because me being a 40-plus-year-old black man, never really seeing characters that look like me all my life in video games, when historically video games have mostly had the same kind of protagonists, right? We have to be careful of saying a message that we don't want any level of inclusion. This is all woke stuff, you know what I'm saying? And in this case, we actually have a historical figure here. So just tell people to chill. As far as the second part, that's the part that's most important to me. They got to nail the story and they got to nail this gameplay. We know they're going back and forth between, both characters. I didn't know about this Splinter Cell thing. I did not know about this. This
yeah.
is extremely exciting to me as a person who is a Splinter Cell die hard. And I'll put it on the record. You can come for me, run with it. I've always liked Splinter Cell better than Metal Gear. I'm the stealth guy. Like, I've always felt that Michael Ironside's thing and what they attempted to do, like, that was an OG Xbox showpiece to me.
I remember it was an Xbox exclusive. Yeah, that's right.
It was an exclusive. That's when we used to do the split. You used to stand on the wall. Bro, Splinter Cell was the thing. And the thing that really showed me the evolution in gaming at the time was the light sourcing, when you'd have that meter where you'd be in the shadows and you were actually stealthy and you were undetectable. You were doing stuff. They did a lot of things with
bodies
the
into the dark.
Oh, man. And the AI, man. So you say Splinter Cell? That type of edit? Oh, you got my attention. So I just hope they execute it and do it well. So we'll see. Where you at, Gene? Where you guys at? I'm curious.
Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, about Yasuke. First of all, I'm Manny and Cog. I'm very glad that you guys are actually pronouncing his name right. Unlike
I hear so many Yasukes.
Yeah, well, Yasuke is fine, but it's really bad when Colin goes Yasuki.
Not the Yasuki. Not the Yasuki.
Like, Colin, you've been playing Japanese games for like 30 years, man. I'm joking. It is funny though. What can I say? I guess this is the first time I'm actually talking about this Assassin's Creed Shadow thing. I will say that as somebody who has been waiting the entire time for an Assassin's Creed Japanese ninja game, it is a bummer that I can't play a Japanese male ninja, actually. So I don't even care what his skin color is, that's right? But as a guy who does, the statistics in Ubisoft show that most people played the guy in Assassin's Creed games. You know, everybody was what's his face in Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
People were picking Alexios over Cassandra. How could y'all? Oh
yeah,
man, Cassandra's
and
so
that was
good.
also me too. I also did Alexios because I thought Alexios was a worse villain in the game, right? Cassandra was better as like the foil, I thought, right? But I also pick Alexios, right? So I absolutely like to play the guy. I will choose the guy, right? And then so in Assassin's Creed Shadow, it's too bad that I can't be the guy ninja.
That's fair.
You know, so I'm hoping that you could job swap, because I think that'd be sick to be Yasuke the ninja versus Naoe the lady samurai, the lord of the manor, right? But she's a girl. That'd be dope. And if she's doing the aggro attacks, like the different stances, and Yasuke is in the shadows, I even just say Yasuke, you know.
I was gonna let it go.
Yasuke's in the shadows, you know, like turning out the lights and everything. I think that would be dope. But that's really my only bummer. It's not a big deal. I'm sure I'll have no problem playing as Noe and having a lot of fun being a girl ninja. I think that's dope too. So that's really my only thing. But I am excited to I am a fan of all the Assassin's Creed games. I played every single one. So I'm just like Solvent, your friends. I loved Origins. I actually didn't like Odyssey that much.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Odyssey is more divisive than I think people understand at times. Yeah. It's too bloated at times. Some people didn't like the hard shift to RPGs. I loved it. I think that game's great.
I heard so many good things from people that loved it.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. The moves are cool. The bloat is even cool because I love Valhalla, right? Valhalla is even more bloated than Odyssey, to be quite honest, right?
Bloat.
I think I just really hated the level scaling and the way they handled level scaling. I just didn't like that the game just kept getting harder and harder, or just kept staying the same. You know, like it just felt like the same experience throughout the whole time. You know, so Valhalla, I also hate the loot system. You know, I hated that you just kept getting different types of gear, different types of color gear. I liked that AC Valhalla went back to, okay, when you get this weapon, this is the only type of a sword you get. And then you deal with that, and then you upgrade that sword. That's cool. I liked finding different upgrade tools, you know. And then you find Thor's hammer in AC Valhalla. That's dope. You find Excalibur in AC Valhalla. So you get actual mythical weapons that actually feel valuable, and you actually worked hard for them throughout the entire game. I'm wondering what AC Shadows will be though, because I also loved AC Mirage. But a lot of people, it's kind of a misnomer about how people interpret AC Mirage, because everyone's saying, yeah, they really like went back to the old school gameplay, right? They did in the gameplay design and the way the encounters are designed, but they use the exact same controls from Origins and Valhalla and the Witcher wannabe series, right? But they did it in a way that they made it clever. They made the AI a little bit more aggressive, so you're definitely a lot more incentivized to be stealthy. They made some of the attack animations a lot stronger to make it a little bit closer to what Assassin's Creed used to be. But it's still very much the system that they use in Valhalla, right? So I'm wondering how AC Shadows will control. Will it control like Valhalla and Mirage? Will it be a completely new system, especially with this stealth system that I'm hearing about? How is that going to work? Probably going to be like arrows, so like put out fires and everything like that. That'd be cool. Mm-hmm. No doubt you're going to be able to do a stealth kill through like a screen door, just like in Splinter Cell. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Splinter Cell. What?
Splinter Cell had like levels set in Japan. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Yes.
So that'd be cool. Sneaking under floorboards or up in the rooftops.
Rooftops. Oh man.
So that's a frustrating thing. As long as I've been a fan of Assassin's Creed, I've also been a fan of Tenchu, right? So
tell them about that stealth, that real Tenchu.
Yeah, exactly. It's Tenchu Stealth Assassins was one of the first stealth games alongside Metal Gear Solid, and this was a game where you could go on roofs. You can stick on the ceiling and then drop down. This was before Sam Fisher did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, are we going to be able to do that stuff again? Sekiro was initially pitched as a Tenchu sequel. A lot of people don't know that.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Sekiro was originally supposed to be Tenchu, and that's why, like, when you see Sekiro like jumping up on rooftops and doing the stealth kills, that's a Tenchu vibe that still sticks through Sekiro.
Should have stuck to their
yeah, exactly. But it's not a complete stealth game, right? And yeah, we did get like the best sword combat system ever, but. Yeah, I'm really wondering how this game is going to play. So it really hinges on what the gameplay looks like, and I can't wait for that.
It sounds very stealth focused. I mean, they talked about like seasons changing, almost like Metal Gear Solid 5, where enemies are positioned, what they're carrying. Like an example I heard was there was a pond, and during the spring, like you can use that pond, swim around, and kind of it's an extra option of traversal. But during the winter, if you're in that same fortress where the enemies are populated, it's going to be frozen over. Like you're going to have.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, yeah. So, it sounds like this game is going to be fucking amazing. Then,
yeah,
honestly.
It sounds really good. Like I want to see it. I've learned too many times that a lot of things will sound great on paper, but a lot of what they're talking about mechanically, I think Ryan McCaffrey put it really well. Like it does sound very Splinter Cell-esque. When you think of games like Splinter Cell Blacklist, which was the only real, in my opinion, close rival to Dishonored. When that game to me was just running circles around everyone in level design and agency of how you approach a level. Splinter Cell Blacklist was really there, and
Blacklist was great.
I know, and it just I don't think that's another overlooked game. They're just bringing up a lot this show. So to see Ubisoft as they're preparing to do a Splinter Cell game start working more on like hardcore stealth gameplay, I'm about it, because a lot of Assassin's Creed, like we joke about how you're not really an assassin oftentimes. Like you're these last 3-4 games, out excluding Mirage, you're like a warrior or something like that. It's just getting into massive battles, and they're cool because to the next point, to me, Assassin's Creed has not been a history game in that, like, let's retell these time periods in grand detail. They've always been, let's visit this cool time period and see what interesting things we can do there. Like, Connor dapping up Benjamin Franklin in AC3, like. It blows my mind a little bit that people are shitting their pants over Yasuke so much when this series, you fight like King George Washington, who's evil, and they suggest like he's, I think, the start of this whole series. Like, there's so many fucking weird things that happen in this series that this is where people draw the line. Like, dude, what? I don't get it, man. And I feel bad for Ubisoft, and I never say that, but I feel bad for them. So I'm like, they actually sound like they got something cool here, and this is what people want to talk about. Like, now all of a sudden Assassin's Creed is this historically accurate series. Since fucking when?
Exactly.
Since when?
Also, the people are saying, oh no, Assassin's Creed is woke now. Assassin's Creed 1 is the game that says this work of fiction was designed and developed and produced by a multicultural team of various religious faiths and beliefs.
Talk to him. That's
Assassin's
the first
Creed
one.
has always been that fucking cringy ass game where it's like, oh, we're so fucking diverse. They've always been like this. It's always been cringy like this, you know?
People just exposed that they didn't play the game. So I was just like,
they didn't play the game. You know, you're a fucking Indian. You're Native American in Assassin's Creed 3. You know, that's dope. You know?
Yeah.
They've always been about exploring like the other like hidden like history of stuff, you know. So Yasuke is a good angle. It's interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
if you want to talk about historical accuracy, like they, for example, in I think they introduced it in Origins. They had what's called the discovery mode, and like that was literally a history part of the game that you sit down and they walk you through significant landmarks and people and try to teach you. If they fuck that up, go for them. In their video game, though, where they're like having you run around, do supernatural shit, like you Spartan kick people in Assassin's Creed Odyssey a mile off a cliff, miss me with that, bro. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I did like Odyssey because like Alexios and Cassandra were basically superheroes in ancient Greece, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable. But
it was dope.
I'm excited to learn more about AC Shadows. Ubisoft's in an interesting spot. They've like really pinched down their costs. Like they're not selling games for a ton of money and they're making more though because they've shrunken down their business gradually over the last few years instead of what we're seeing across the board, which is everyone making drastic cuts. And they're doing that, and now they're in a really good spot. And they're about to deliver AC Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. So I think they're set up to look like they're on the big rebound.
Wow, that's a 1-2 punch from Ubisoft that we haven't seen in a long time, actually.
I'm optimistic about their future. I'm looking forward to what they're doing here. We got a leak here. Valve's Deadlock. This was leaked by a Valve YouTuber, Tyler McVicker. That's who it was. But then Insider Gaming arrived with some more details on the title. It's in its alpha stage. It's a 6v6 third-person hero-based shooter with 19 different heroes featuring different abilities and playstyles that you expect from a MOBA. It's described as similar to Dota in the terms of gameplay loop and mechanics where you kill enemies and creeps to get souls, or what they're called, which is the game's currency that allows you to buy items and make your hero stronger. To collect souls, they say you shoot them, but ones that are not shot are still retrieved, yet yield a smaller amount of souls. Creeps are randomly spawned, including an AI boss in the middle of the map. There are spirit urns placed in the middle of the map as well, which can give the team access to more souls. And right now, the release is unclear, but Insider Gaming speculates that they, quote, wouldn't be surprised to see it released sometime in 2025, end quote. And there's also gameplay online. Obviously, we can't show it, but like this game looks awesome. This looks okay. So I don't know. Raise your hand if you remember Battleborn. I loved Battleborn. And I really feel like Gearbox was just a touch too early on this brilliant idea. First-person shooter, MOBA. Like, MOBAs are amazing, in my opinion. Many of our listeners already know I love Smite. I played a lot of League of Legends. I haven't played much Dota, but to know that Valve, who's just on this massive streak right now, you know, they're just doing great with hardware, software. I know Artifact exists, which I didn't really touch, but like Valve coming in and saying we're basically going to make a hero shooter, but also a MOBA hybrid. That speaks to all my sensibilities. This is a dangerous video game in the making right now. We talked again earlier about Star Wars, Creative Assembly, Total War game, bad life decisions may be made. Now we got another one. This is getting bad for me. But yeah, this game, the leaked gameplay showed something that looked pretty solid, but didn't really get into the thick of what the loop would look like. But this is a real game, and hopefully it comes out next year. I am very stoked from what I'm hearing and the brief snippets we've been seeing. Gene, what are your thoughts on Deadlock, if you've seen anything on it?
No real thoughts. No, not really a fan of MOBAs.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely won't play this one.
What about you, Todd?
Not the MOBA guy, but it sounds cool. It sounds good. Look, I see that league is. I can't find that nowhere. They own that. They took that.
Yeah, that was on. I saw it on Reddit real quick, and apparently they took it down afterwards.
Yeah, but no, I mean,
I try to play League, but it's like so.
Too much. Yeah, it's too much. I got you. And yeah, with me being a looter shooter guy, the soul stealers, man. You know how they go, but I know you go hard for the MOBAs, man. I know you go hard. You ready?
MOBA. I love a good MOBA. So yeah, this is again, I love the kind of hero shooter vibe that really killed Battleborn, because a lot of people said it was trying to be Overwatch. This is what it's happened time and time again. Just these people who don't fucking play games are the ones ruining some games. and it bugs me because like Battleborn was so good, and none of you fuckers knew that. It was so good.
Don't you hate that? Don't you hate when it's your joint that don't went out?
I love that game. And by the way, not in spite of another game. I played hundreds of hours of Overwatch as well. Not Overwatch 2, but at least the first one. But I loved Battleborn. So I'm excited for potentially some new lifeblood here in the MOBA genre. It needs it, I think. It's gotten a little stagnant.
The way you felt about that with Battleborn is how I felt about PUBG, and then when Fortnite came and took over, I was like, damn, I liked it, the PUBG one. And I was like, yeah, they're not stopping this train of Fortnite. It is unstoppable. So yeah, that's what happened.
So we'll probably learn more later on about what's going on with Deadlock. Knowing what's going on with Valve, they'll just probably randomly drop this one day and go, surprise, here it is. So we'll see it when we see it. Larian has opened up a brand new studio in Warsaw, as well as revealed they are working on 2 new role-playing games that they're calling very ambitious. And this is obviously exciting because Baldur's Gate 3 spoke for itself, but also you have Divinity Original Sin 2 to look back on Divinity Original Sin 1. No doubt that I think one of these 2 games is Divinity Original Sin 3. My guess off the wall has to be another one of these games. They're not doing Baldur's Gate 4, which they already confirmed. They're not doing Baldur's Gate DLC. I'm going to say they're doing a sci-fi game. They got to be. Like, it's time for Larian to get out of the fantasy genre, but at least one of these times. I don't see why they would split up 2 teams and just start working on 2 fantasy games, especially when they ditched like their cash cow in one of them. I think they're going to put a lot of their resources in Divinity Original Sin 3, but I think it's time to start cooking a sci-fi series up. I would love to see them do that. Love. I'm biased. I do prefer sci-fi over fantasy. But to see, because they're just so creative, right? They're so creative. They have so many good ideas. And to see
Manny wants KOTOR 3. That's what's going on.
I mean, look, Gene.
I mean, like in vibes and feels. That's what you're going for.
I mean, look, if a sci-fi game happens to have lightsabers and a man named Revan, I'm not gonna get too upset. I'm just saying, Larry, it'd be a great money making opportunity, and you make me very happy with it. But yeah, I'm pumped. I'm happy to see.
Well, yeah, because they did ditch their big IP, right? So it's like, hey, maybe they could go to Disney and be like, hey, look at what we did with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
You know, like, it doesn't even Wizards of the Coast. You are Disney. You might be Disney, but you're not Wizards of the Coast.
It doesn't have to be KOTOR. It can't be. It seems like KOTOR is sticking with Saber.
It can't be KOTOR. Yeah, I'm not saying it's KOTOR, but
if it's Star Wars. I would rather Larian just create their own rule book and make like their own version of Star Wars. I think that would be really awesome. Because they just go hog wild. Because I could see Disney being like, no, you can't have these characters like kill each other or have sex. And I'm like, dude, like, you guys are fucking ruining it already.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You know, that ain't going there. No relations.
How are you guys feeling about Larian's expansion, Cog? How are we feeling?
It's dope, man. Look, they absolutely killed it with Baldur's Gate. So for me, they got that new wave BioWare energy to me. Like they right now they're just cooking. Yeah. So whatever they want, and Divinity's big, you know. But like you said, I would like to see them try their hand at a new genre, a new IP, just to see what they can do, show off a little flex, a little versatility to the studio, that kind of energy. But no, I mean, obviously, I admit there's a part of me that was sad. I'm like, damn, I could get another Baldur's Gate, but I want them to do what they want to do, kind of thing. So yeah,
Gene, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm totally with you on the whole sci-fi thing. I think it's always a nice shift, right? Like, I think a lot of people want Naughty Dog to do their sci-fi game too, and I think a lot of people will be excited to see what Naughty Dog plus sci-fi would do. And that's kind of like what the appeal was with Starfield, wasn't it?
Yeah,
right. Bethesda Game Studios, finally going full sci-fi, not post-apocalypse. Not fantasy, but just like full space age stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you got. And you know, all 3 of us like that game, you know?
Indeed.
And we'll talk about that more in a bit. But
you know.
All right. We got 2 more bits of news here. This one came as a random surprise, but a welcome one indeed. Kingdom Hearts is coming to Steam on June 13th. And wow, interesting timing. Right after a set of showcases, you gotta wonder if something's happening with Kingdom Hearts as a license, like if there's going to be any sort of like KH4 information at Summer Games Fest. I was poking around the gaming leaks and rumors subreddit, as I always do before the show, and Midori, who we commonly reference on Sega Leaks, was mentioning that a Fortnite collaboration is coming up for Kingdom Hearts. They mentioned that Kingdom Hearts is going to go beyond different typical IP that you would expect to see in the franchise. They mentioned that there's going to be a small online feature in KH4. There's going to be more daily life stuff in KH4.
They're gonna put Star Wars in Kingdom Hearts, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely, bro.
There it is.
Oh, absolutely. That's already confirmed. That they basically confirmed that in the trailer.
They basically confirmed that in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, they basically already confirmed that. And then what was the other thing?
No, man, the Keyblade versus the lightsaber.
There you go.
It's gonna be amazing.
And Goofy.
Yeah. And then they got and this series along with KH4 might release on Switch too. That was the other part of the leaks. And on a separate Square Enix related note, Midori is saying that the Final Fantasy IX remake is real, which we kind of already knew because it was in the NVIDIA GeForce leak, but that there is no Final Fantasy X remake in development. So yeah, interesting little situation here we have for Kingdom Hearts. Suddenly a big blowout of news. And I'm wondering if you guys think anything's on the horizon soon or not, Cog. Do you think you get a big Kingdom Hearts announcement Summer Games Fest?
I hope not. Y'all know I don't like this series. Respectfully, I just don't. It's not for me. I feel like the creepy uncle and grandpa at the playground with kids I shouldn't be next to. Like, that's what looking at Kingdom Hearts is me. It is not the demographic I should be next to. But respectfully, I know a lot of people love this franchise and are excited for the newest entry. So yeah, maybe it's a symbol of things to come. Kind of thing. And obviously the Disney thing, it does make me laugh because I do see them really going all out, as far as like the IPs and the properties and stuff like that. But that's all I got on this one. I'm just going to sit back and watch you guys go crazy. Have your moment. Cog will not hate. I'll just sit in the back and say, you guys, this is your moment. But it's definitely not for me.
What about you, Eugene? I know the idea of Kingdom Hearts Star Wars is bringing you great pain. But do we anticipate anything at Summer Games Fest? Any sort of announcements?
Totally. Yeah. I'm absolutely sure that we're going to hear more about Kingdom Hearts 4. But I'm also extremely, extremely excited that they're on Steam. They might as well not have been on PC while being on the Epic Game Store. But I'm just as a huge Steam Deck user, the Steam Deck has now is basically my favorite console.
Oh wow!
Even over the Switch.
Wow.
It's just a device that I spend the most time with, more than PlayStation 5, more than the Xbox, more than Switch. So this is just a huge boon for me to know that it's coming to Steam and I don't have to boot up another fucking launcher just to play it. I only have the Ubisoft launcher on Steam Deck because I Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Assassin's Creed Mirage is really, really fun on the go, right? But yeah, just to have them finally on Steam. I'm going to play them now, Dustin and Brad, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting because Kingdom Hearts just feels like, to Cog's point, like it does feel like it's hard for me to get into, like sure. Cog just made the goofy laugh. And that's me every time I try to play Kingdom Hearts 3 because I heard that Kingdom Hearts 3 had a really good combat system, right? So I was like, I don't understand the story. Fuck it. I'm just going to just try to dive right in, right? And do that. And then Goofy starts laughing and I'm just like, I can't fucking take this seriously. This is just too stupid for me to deal. I can't push through, But you know what? Let me do it the Colin way. Let me play it from the very, very beginning. So that's why I really try to do it in PlayStation. I tried to play the game 20 years ago when it came out. I got stuck in the fucking Tarzan level because
oh god, Deep Jungle,
absolute
terrible.
Fucking garbage. Fuck this game. I fucking hate Kingdom Hearts. So that was where I thought Kingdom Hearts was just a garbage series, right? And then I hear Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 are actually pretty good. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is phenomenal. 3 is very popular, but I think 3 is very divisive amongst the community for. If you play like on the critical mode, then it's actually a reasonable difficulty. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm a defender of it. Like I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It just leaves behind a lot of what made 1 and 2 special. Like no Final Fantasy characters, no Disney boss fights outside of like 1. These are things that like you as a newcomer you get into. You wouldn't even
Final
notice.
Fantasy characters in 3. That's crazy.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, none. Until they did Remind. The Remind DLC adds them back, but it's like a whole separate thing. It's like after you beat the game, so it's not like now we have like the definitive edition where you see Cloud popping up in the middle of the story. Like they just had none of that shit, dude. It's devoid of a lot of the special elements of Kingdom Hearts. And again, I can't tell you as a longtime fan how annoying it was when you finish like Frozen, or you finish Toy Story, you don't fight Emperor Zurg. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
How did this ever get greenlit? It's upsetting, but what's encouraging about Kingdom Hearts 4 is Nomura seems very, very aware of some of the missteps of that game and how to right some wrongs. So I'm hoping they're more on the ball here with Kingdom Hearts 4, because 3, people forget, I think 3 switched engines like twice. Like they did. So I think that game probably would have had
Unreal, right? Unreal. It's Unreal now.
Yeah,
right?
it's Unreal now, and they actually switched Kingdom Hearts 4 in middle of its development. So I don't know if I should worry or not about that. But they went from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. So I hope the transition's a little seamless. I work on Unreal Engine 4, but I don't know if that transition's seamless or not. I don't imagine it's as easy as a drag and drop for a project, but someone more intelligent than me can let me know on that. But Kingdom Hearts on Steam is exciting because of the modding. I watch the Gamers Joint a lot. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. Good pal of mine too. He's an awesome guy, and he's covered like some awesome mods. Like people are like remastering, the Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, which is just like cutscenes on the re-releases. There are people who are like recreating Kingdom Hearts 2 as a Devil May Cry game. I think it's called like Kingdom Hearts May Cry or something like that. There's a lot of great mods for Kingdom Hearts out there. So I'm excited for people maybe to see more of those when it comes to Steam, because it should be more easily accessible.
This will be my first time playing through the whole trilogy, and like,
oh, you think it's a trilogy? If you end up liking it, you'll be playing through like 7 games, sir.
But I hear that the overall story is fairly self-contained in Engine 3. Right?
Yeah. You definitely, in my opinion, this is not like from the hardcore fan perspective, because some of my love for Kingdom Hearts has waned, but like you going into 3 and not knowing what happens in Dream Drop Distance, I think that's a crucial story. Right. And then Birth by Sleep, super fucking important. Birth by Sleep is like one of the best. It's the good news is you can skip things like Recoded's a piece of shit. Like you don't need to play Recoded. But you can. There's a couple of games in there that are spin-offs that are worth playing. I'm not a fan of Dream Drop Distance, so that's one of my least favorite Kingdom Hearts games.
I'm just gonna play 1, 2, and 3, and then when I get to 3, and I see there's some gaps, and I'll go back.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I've told people to do that too. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite games ever. I think you'll really like it.
Yeah, everyone says Kingdom Hearts 2 is amazing, and I really want to play that. So
good.
Yeah, 2 is the GOAT.
All right, last bit of news, and we'll finally talk a little bit about Hellblade. IGN has acquired Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, Video Games 24/7, Rock Paper Shotgun, and many more. This is a pretty big deal. This is the real number one gaming news outlet, gobbling up a bunch of competitors, and no doubt this is going to result in layoffs, as we've learned many times over throughout this industry's history. But IGN pretty much, I think Colin mentioned it, like being able to just, or maybe it was Eugene, just being able to like poach the main talent from all of these places and gradually bleed them dry. Like they're going to have complete control soon. And so, Gene, I want to pass it off to you right away, because with your line of work, I think you have the most authoritative opinion on this. What do you make of what IGN's doing here?
Yeah, what IGN management is doing is basically just getting rid of the competition. It's kind of weird. You don't really see this in like the media business a lot. Like Washington Post isn't going to buy CNN anytime soon. Or Jeff Bezos isn't going to buy a CNN or anything like that anytime soon. So it's like, it's a little weird. It's less media and more games industry, like, where it's like it's more Xbox acquisition more than a media move, It was very strange. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but obviously I feel bad for anyone laid off. It seems like everyone who's not in the UK basically got laid off. Other than the boys at Digital Foundry, who are all over the place, but they're okay because they've been a little bit independent.
Okay.
From that whole system, anyways.
They're kind of separate from Euro, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little separate from Eurogamer. I think like Eurogamer. I don't know exactly the nature of their relationship.
Gotcha.
But as far as I know, I think Digital Foundry could just be on their own and they'd be fine. Because they have a Patreon. They're Patreon funded too. Yeah, I feel bad. I don't know what IGN is doing. I don't know what kind of site IGN wants to become. IGN obviously wants to be a lot of things. They want to do IGN Live. They do IGN movies, IGN TV.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely want to be some kind of big entertainment one-stop shop. And we'll see. I don't know. IGN, as Kai Cenat's fans have said, IGN fell the fuck off. So who knows? It's not what it used to be, but there's a lot of good shows still there, and there's a lot of good talent there. But I don't know. I don't know what they hope to be by acquiring all of this stuff and just trying to be some kind of conglomerate. I guess some entertainment conglomerate.
Do you think do you think any of these companies beneath them now stand a chance of surviving, or is it just gradually just knocking them all off after like the
I think it's just knocking some off and just getting whatever revenue they have, I guess. I mean, what's the point of IGN swallowing Eurogamer?
Yeah,
they kind of do the same stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like we talk about redundancies in these acquisitions, and like IGN acquired a ton of redundancies is how I kind of view it. That's why
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's like you just acquired a bunch of sites that kind of do what you do, but not as big. So
yeah,
it's just clearing the plate of competitors, basically, and making the industry smaller, so you can have all the money. Everything will just eventually funnel to you, Ziff Davis, right?
Ziff. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So I don't know, but
what about you, Cog? See all these acquisitions. This was Lord acquisition in favor of media consolidation.
Yeah, look, I tell people all the time. I know for gamers, it's a big shock, right? You see what Microsoft's doing, but consolidation is in so many different other industries. Now, I will say this is definitely surprising. Like, I'm not going to, like, these are literally all of the direct competitors to IGN. And obviously, when you have that type of consolidation, there's going to be redundancies, there's going to be layoffs, and also the smaller teams, right? The editorial teams that's out there, that's part of these umbrellas, you worry about what happens to them. So I was shocked about it. I guess for me, the concern is obviously you definitely buy your competition. So that's the end game, right? They're buying out their competition. But I will admit, I am concerned for games media, in the long term, as far as the independent voices, the unique voices that, usually come about as a result of, not being part of that big circle. It seems like this is all of gaming media. I can't think of who's probably not under the brand. Obviously, Gene, you got, obviously Washington Post and what are we talking about?
They laid off my whole section too. So,
right. So I guess the question is who's left, right? So it's like, what is Game Informer still?
Game Informer,
GameSpot. Yeah.
There's a lot of niche sites like Pure Xbox, PlayStation Lifestyle, Nintendo Life.
Your Dual Shockers, right?
Yeah.
Your Xbox eras,
right? Yeah, just more stuff. So
NintendoLife.com,
right. But
I don't know if in terms of the generalist site, there's not too many left, right? There's the Gamer, right?
Yeah, that's what's shocking. Games media, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
This is a huge move. This is a huge deal, and I will say I am concerned about the thought process on a top level from a disseminating of news, right? There's cause for me. I feel a little concerned. I will admit that as a person who understands that acquisitions happen and this is part of the industry, I've never seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really read it like, oh, they're bolstering a weakness. They're not.
Right.
They're the number one gaming news site, and you've just bought a bunch of other smaller gaming news outlets. You can only come to one conclusion, right? And I think there are ones like GamesIndustry.biz that I hope they keep around because I think they have very unique insight. And
they lost a bunch of people already. Brendan Sinclair's gone.
Really? Oh wow!
Jeffrey Rousseau, who didn't newsletter, he's gone.
Wow.
Which is kind of too bad because they were. It's funny because those two were doing things that like IGN doesn't do.
That's what I was just about to say. Okay, so that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It's kind of stupid, But like as we know from Tango, as we know from when the Washington Post cut off my section, these decisions don't really make a lot of logical sense. They're not really looking at talent. They're not really looking. That's why we always say we are just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're not looking at the value, the extrinsic value that a game like Hi-Fi Rush would bring, or having a section that covers video games would bring. That brings a lot of intangible value to your product that would pay off in the long term.
Yeah.
But, a lot of these companies don't see that. And they're like, oh, well, our quarter, though,
No, that's what it is. That's always I try to make sense of why things happen. And exactly what you said, Gene, that's literally what it is. It's literally, you're a spreadsheet, you're a number, and what did you generate? And if it doesn't matter if you're this unique thing and this critical darling and bring flavor to the industry, you didn't generate enough revenue. That's how they look at it. And why are we still keeping this thing around, kind of thing. Yeah, it's sad.
It really is. Yeah, it begs the question of like capitalism. Just like it doesn't mean if you could always do things cheaper that you should, right? That there are things worth keeping around.
Yeah.
All right, that's the news for now. It's time to finally get into what games we're playing. We've all been playing one game. What we'll do is we'll get to our straggling parts of what we're playing. The audience has waited long enough. Let's talk about Hellblade II. We all got it early, ahead of the game's release. Had the time to play this game and potentially even
a week early, right? It was a week, right?
Yeah, much earlier than I thought for a game so short. Embargo went live an hour before the game was available to everyone. And I'll just kick us off and say, I wasn't a huge fan of the game. I was actually pretty disappointed with what I played here, and that was kind of a bummer. Not even kind of, it was a bummer. I love the first Hellblade. I actually went back and looked at my review on my Mr. Manny channel just to kind of reminisce on like what really I connected with back then, and based on what I was feeling in that moment of playing Hellblade 2 and what I was thinking of going into launch. And I really walked away with this feeling of, wow, I think the first game is just better in every way outside of its visuals, which obviously, I think this is a taste thing to a degree. I think that for some people, the visuals will go a long way. And that is just not the type of gamer I am. It's never gone a long way with me. I love pixel art games, for God's sakes, which I think are beautiful visuals, by the way. It's not like a flavor to me. It's like, these are beautiful. So I have a different approach to game visuals than others. Some, that fidelity, that presentation, clearly by the 82 on OpenCritic, went a really long way for some outlets. Some 10s out there, some 9s out there. I'm glad it's doing well. So to just start off with that, I'll say that, for me, it was the pacing I thought was, to put it very bluntly, abysmal. I was extremely disappointed with how padded this game felt for what was a shorter runtime than the first Hellblade. The first Hellblade took me, I think, like 6 or 7 hours, around there. And Hellblade 2 took me 5. And there were a lot of times that my time felt wasted. And for a game so short, it felt way longer. But then I looked at my final play clock and went, holy shit, like that was a drag. I specifically highlighted in chapter 3. That was one of the worst stretches of a game I've played this year. It was just walking around, lighting torches, and that was it. It felt like, and as I got deeper, it felt more and more, I was like, they just, at least in my opinion and what I'm playing, have not connected with the themes as strongly in this game as they did in Hellblade 1. By that, I mean, like, Hellblade 1, you didn't just fight to break things up, which oftentimes that's what combat is used in Hellblade 2. It's used infrequently to synchronize with a big story moment, because it rarely shows up. So I'll be like mid puzzle and then a fight will start. And it's like, that's not how fighting worked in Hellblade 1. Hellblade 1, like, you'd fight because like Senua would be fighting her personal demons at that moment. It was very thematically in tune with itself. You'd solve a puzzle because Senua was learning something about the world or herself. It was a much more personal journey. Hellblade 2 has these surrounding characters that don't get time to breathe, and the puzzles are used to just extend the length of the game, frankly. I mean, it's available. Go play it. Check it out for yourself on Game Pass, or buy it for yourself if you think it's valuable based on what we'll say here. But you'll see very quickly that these puzzles don't have a deep, engaging thought behind them for the plot, which is what drove Hellblade 1 to such a high mark. Why it sold so well, why it was such a darling. It wasn't just, cutesy artsy game. Like, to me at least, it was very thought provoking. It was eye opening. It was different. It changed how indies were looked at. It was like, wait, this game looks like the AAA games, but it's $20. Like that was the first wow moment about Hellblade, was just presentation. And it still got that touch to it. But I was really just disappointed with the story. I think the combat's better in this game. I found the combat to be, mechanically leaner. I found it to be very intense. Like I loved when the music was ramping up, the kind of the seamless ending string of combat encounters. I really felt like I was barely hanging on. I think that was one of their goals they stated in, I think it was either a preview period where they had press fly out, or it was during the developer direct, but I think they nailed that. I think they achieved their vision on that. But when it came to the story and the themes, it did not hit me at all. It just not even like over my head. It's just, I understood what they were going for, and the dying moments of the story, you're like, oh, okay, I understand this story now. I get what they're doing here. But it's not as deeply personal. And once it ends, you're like, we waited this long for this little, and now we have to wait again to get a part 3, which I imagine will be more ambitious. You have to hope it's more ambitious, not just on a visual level. I'm not going to shortchange their visual ambition, but content wise, storytelling wise. It's one of those games I see some people's review scores, and I not that I disagree with their takes personally, and like how could you like this, but I don't understand how some people walked away from this and didn't get that feeling of, wow, this felt like there was a lot left on the cutting room floor. I feel like this game wasn't rushed, but that they just spun their wheels on like lighting and fidelity for an extremely long period of time, and very little game came out of it. It reminded me, and I'll just say this in conclusion, of The Order 1886. It reminded me of Rise, Son of Rome. But the difference between those two games and Hellblade is, I would just say that the other two games are very fun to me. Those other two, particularly, I think Order is a good one to point at and say, like, that was a showpiece. It was flexing its technical might. It was doing a lot of cool things for the PS4 at that time. It was definitely a little self-indulgent. Hey, check out this weapon, and you can like rotate the model and stuff. They really got into it. But when it got going,
you got different weapons stuff.
Yeah, you did get different weapons. That's a good point.
There was gameplay, you know?
Yeah, there was gameplay. And I mean, it was pretty good. I saw this video called the Order 1886 Aggressive Gameplay. And this guy's just rushing people with shotguns and rolling around. I was like, this game's fucking awesome, man. Not even from a revisionist standpoint. Like, I always liked it. It was the same feeling I got with Hellblade 2, where it ends and I was like, you were just getting going. It. But Order definitely is like a big culprit of that. But I think it was very fun to play, and Rise is a huge guilty pleasure, but it reminded me of those games, yet has fallen beneath them. So yeah, I'll just say that I was very stunned with my dislike of the game, because obviously I put a lot on Ninja Theory. I was like, I feel the most confident in them. I said, these are perfectionists. They really care about their craft, and I don't get the sense that they don't. But I know I made those Naughty Dog comparisons, and those I was wrong. Like, that was not a good call by me. That was an incorrect statement and a bad comparison, because not that they were going to deliver something on that level content amount wise. We know Naughty Dog operates in a different level. But when I was talking about like quality storytelling and really like beat for beat action and kind of just having their finger on the pulse of good pacing, that's what Hellblade 1 communicated to me. But it felt entirely missing in Hellblade 2. So that's my kind of top down level thoughts. Cog, I want to kick it to you next. Top down level thoughts for Hellblade 2, then we'll go to Gene and we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of every component of the game.
Yeah, definitely a divisive one. Yeah, I'm definitely on the complete opposite spectrum of you. It's probably our most divisive conversation, but I do understand the points you made. I don't think there's no validity, Maddie's bugging and stuff like that. I definitely felt what you felt in terms of game length, and I definitely felt what you felt in terms of things from Hellblade 1 from a combat standpoint that definitely were scaled back. But for me, the way I looked at it was twofold. One, this is the evolution of Senua's story. So Senua, in the first one, the Furies to me represented, this is the torment of mental illness. This is the torment of psychosis. Mm-hmm. In Senua, in part 2, what we're getting now is I have more control and more agency. These voices now, one is almost like confidence and the other one is almost doubt. But the reality is, if you notice, she doesn't interact with them in the way that she did in the first. And to me, it's signifying that she has now evolved and is in more control. The other character, who I believe is, the father of the Senua, like, you cannot escape. You cannot. That is the torment. In addition to what I like now is guilt. Now we're getting the voices from the dead. Even from the opening start of the game, I'm getting the sense that I have tremendous guilt. I am responsible for leading this mission to be captured by slavers, and this went horribly wrong, and everyone is dead because of me, right? So that was the first thing. Second thing, this is a graphical tour de force. Like, not just, it looks pretty. This is next generation genre defining. There is nothing that looks like this. This is a tour de force on audio. From every aspect of this game, the care, the detail, the animations. When I set this game up, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This generation has been a complete disappointment in terms of graphical fidelity and what the next jump in gaming is. Oh, Hellblade 2 set it off with Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory set the tone to let everyone know this is, like, put it this way. When I see vertical slices in games, I'm like, that's a lie. They ain't gonna do that. I'm like, yeah, you ain't doing it. When she was doing all that, I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen in the game, but we'll see when it drops. Oh no, they're here. It's to the point where I get it from a control standpoint and agency. Anyone who says, Cog, I didn't like it, you just press up all the time. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Cog, I didn't like it. You took away the core gameplay. That's fair. I will never come at anyone who says that. But what I will say is we're at this level now when I'm playing the game and I'm thinking, this is time for the cinema. Let me put the control there. And they like, no, bro, get in there and do that. Get in there and crawl between the ship levels. The other thing that I feel is, I guess where the difference for me is, I didn't like Hellblade 1's puzzles. I thought they were terrible. I didn't like what I could consider the TTK. It's a K here, it's a K here, a T here. Then you got to look at an angle, and I couldn't stand that. I welcomed the variation of puzzles. I welcomed the fact that I had something to manipulate and change the idea. To me, Hellblade is its own genre. If people were coming into it looking at a 40-hour God of War experience, then I get it. This is not going to be for you. And I think the key for me is when I was there, I believe, Matt, I will give you that. I was there coming into, like, when the game was announced, right? We were like, yo, it's going to be one of those, right?
Yeah.
And then the key thing was after the developer direct and they set the expectation, they were like, by the way, this is 7 to 8 hours. Oh, by the way, this is $50. Oh, by the way, you ain't getting no physical. I'm like, okay. I got to check myself now because this is not that. And the last thing I said, because we'll touch this thing for a long, I know it's a lot of points. I guess the other difference was where I totally understand your point where you're like, man, this Act 3 it's so funny how different perspectives are because you were like, bro, that bored the hell out of me. You were like, this is terrible. I get it for you. For me, it was so different because I looked at it as, wow, this is them delving into horror. The whole thing with the hidden folk, to me, that was the part where I go, wait a minute. We're using lighting to keep ourselves alive. There's a pool of very horrifying things that I don't want to interact with. Mm-hmm. And the sense of claustrophobia, it showed me Naughty Dog was kind of getting their chops as far as what they could do with horror. That's what I said with Project Mara. So it just, look, this is going to be one of those things that's extremely divisive. It's subjective, but I will give you this. Way too short. I did not like it. It was way too short.
How long did it end up taking you?
Probably about 6 to 7.
Okay.
Because I did go off to the lore stones. I did try the optical illusion of the faces and stuff like that. Yeah. I did that. But I do understand that. And I do understand people who say, hey, I wanted a more personal story. I guess the last point I'll say is I know I'm going long. And
you're good.
This is where I am very different now. This is even hardcore Hellblade 1 guys disagree with me on this. And they align with you on this as far as the story, which one is better. Hellblade 1 is a masterpiece. It's special. I love it. 2, the reason why it resonates with me is because this, to me, is her superhero journey as far as now we see how others react to someone with her condition. And also, I felt the world was living. I didn't feel like, I love the fact that it was 3 or 4 characters in this journey and they're looking to her as this kind of seer, so to speak, to deal with this new thing. I just felt it felt more of a lived in world that we actually can interact and deal with other people as opposed to everything self-contained within her psychosis. But again, it's opinion, it's subjective. It's not going to, resonate with them. But look, I got more top level thoughts, but I don't want to tell. I'm dying to hear what Gene's got to say because I know the discourse is pretty, divisive on this game, and I totally get it. But where you guys at?
Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah. What you were saying earlier? What were you just saying about
You go. I was talking. All I said towards the end was how like the story. I can totally understand how people could say, "Hey, I really love the first one. That was a really personal story with Senua, and this one didn't resonate." Whereas with me, I like the idea of other people looking to her and interacting with her, and the world feeling more lived in with these other characters.
Okay. But that's what I wanted to jump off of.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So with other people, I totally got that. And I was, when I started playing Hellblade II, I was like, oh, this is about her learning to be with other people, right? And this is about how mental illness can interact with other people and interact with other types of world perspectives, right? And how other people see the world. I think just to me, they just didn't succeed in doing that, basically. So I'll read a little bit of my review in the WashingtonPost.com right here, where I talk about the visuals, makes a strong case for the most impressive looking frames in video games at the moment. All this visual fidelity comes at a cost. The sequel is a lesser game than its predecessor. There are fewer combat mechanics in play. Removing the melee button. Now, a lot of people thought that I meant melee button as in the sword attack. No, I meant the actual kick and punches that were meant to kick away the shields of the enemies in the previous game. That's gone now. The only way you can deal with shields is just keep hitting the regular attack button, and then hopefully something will happen, right? The directional attacks are gone. There's no rolling attacks. So before in Hellblade 1, you can actually roll, and you can do a side swipe left, swipe right, backwards dodge and an attack, and a forward dodge and attack. Right now, there's only a sprint and attack. So she can sprint, and then she'll do a lunging forward, which is basically, like a Devil May Cry type move. The scale of the puzzles are also smaller. Now, Cog, I'm with you that the puzzles I did find the Hellblade 1 puzzles kind of annoying, and they were pretty big. So I did kind of appreciate that they were smaller. I almost wish that the game had no combat and no puzzles. Period. I think the game would have been better if it was more honest about what it wanted to be, and just be a story where we're just walking along and talking to characters and seeing things and admiring the graphics, and maybe that's it. I just feel like that the puzzles, I totally get. I like the idea of puzzles reflecting her mind state. There's a puzzle where she has to pick up little orbs of rock and place them into the holes, right? And then when she snaps out of it, she wakes up, everything's just there, So it's like, okay, did that really happen or not, But I just don't feel like that it really connected with the themes, just really how it went. And then so this is how I conclude my review. At $50 and about 6 to 8 hours of play total, and for me, the play time is not an issue. Obviously we're always espousing shorter games. That's the same here. But Hellblade 2 is worth a peek if you're interested in what games could look like in the future, which is what Cog was saying, right? Ninja Theory is the only company out there that's saying that is really pushing the boundaries of next gen visuals, right? Imagine an Elden Ring that looks like this. Will I live long enough to see it? I don't know. Who knows? So I'm grateful that Hellblade 2 exists today to give me a glimpse of that future. But I just wish it had a little bit more to say and gave us a little bit more to do. So that's where I'm at. That's the top level, and we can dig deeper into exactly the specific issues of the game. But largely I agree with Matt on this one. So
I know you guys are aligned.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to kick at the Cog first. So it wasn't just me and Gene just kicking the shit.
No, I appreciate it.
This one. We have this right in here from Tyler Brown. We'll start the dive in from this angle, which is really, I think, expectations. He writes, Maddie, let me preface this message by saying that I plan on playing through the game this coming weekend, and I'm basing this question on 3 or 4 reviews that I have watched, as well as a couple of review discussion threads. I may feel similar to you once I play through. With that out of the way, let's get the question rolling. I watched your Hellblade 2 review and thought that you had well thought out opinions/critiques and were well spoken in explaining your feelings leading up to this game's release the past 5 years. Couldn't help but wonder if you may have had your expectations too high as to what this game was. You mentioned in the past and addressed it in the beginning of your video that you compared this outing from Ninja Theory as a Naughty Dog-like game. I feel like having that mindset going in has a high chance of skewing how you perceive this game. Personally, I don't recall ever feeling that Ninja Theory was going to make this game in the same vein as God of War or Naughty Dog. From what little we saw up to release, it always had the feeling that it would be more of the same, which I think is fine given the nature of this title. Sure, changing the formula can be nice, but sometimes messing with said formula results in a bad end product. With all this in mind, do you think that your expectations may have been too high? Were you not in the right headspace to play a narrative style game? Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. It's okay not to like something through and through. Just want to get your thoughts on this. Thanks, and have a getting flack because I think Undertale is a poor game at best kind of day. Interesting take there, Tyler.
Wow.
This applies to all of us in that I want to get everyone's thoughts on expectations going in, just to kind of set the table a little bit further. But for me, obviously, I was the most outspoken on our show. I definitely made my Naughty Dog claims. And again, I'll just reiterate that was from a standpoint. I don't want to come across too defensive. That was from a standpoint of like quality measurement, not quantity, not scale. But I will say I was guilty of thinking originally with the announcement and how the game was being marketed, I thought Hellblade 2 was going to be a God of War scale.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
It was there at the launch of at the reveal of Xbox Series.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I definitely.
So this was like before Halo Infinite. You know,
Yes, that's right.
This was more the Xbox Series, the console that Halo Infinite was. To be quite honest,
I think that's fair.
It had big game feel to it. And I'm not going to ever take that one back. I will die on that one. That Hellblade 2 felt like it was presented to me as a much bigger game. But when I heard at the developer direct, that's when I started to really tout the mindset of, oh, this game, we've seen so much of it. That's why we're not seeing a ton of marketing.
You switched up as soon as they made it known that this was going to be a smaller game.
Dramatically,
that surprised all of us, man.
That surprised me too. Yeah,
that surprised all of us. We all thought that this was going to be a bigger game. Like so stop with the talk that it was like, oh, you weren't paying attention. We were paying real close attention. Yeah, but they really marketed this game as being something bigger initially. You know,
yeah, it had that feel. I mean, because the environments had such a massive scale, the fidelity was clearly there. Oh, they're going in. I was like, okay, let's go. So yeah, that's it. Didn't like I didn't go in though. That's where like stubbornness kicks in for some reviewers. Like I didn't go in saying like, well, this better be a Naughty Dog experience anyway, because that's what I was showing. It's like, no, I listened to what the developer said. AAA independent, about the same length as Hellblade 1. I was like, all right. This might I like if anything I was like, okay, this might dampen some of my love of the game because it might shoot me down a hallway or two too many times. And in fact, I'd say the whole game was really one singular hallway that was very long. But yeah, to me, my expectations, I think I put them in the right spot because when I went in, I was, we cover Xbox extensively, obviously here, but also just on my own YouTube channel, like I had been tracking what Naughty Dog said about the game. And, like one of the big surprises to me, if anything also subverted my expectations, I was definitely wrong on the release window once for Hellblade 2. I think I thought it was going to come sometime early last year. And then we learned like beforehand, like someone wrote in the audience, it was like, it entered alpha in like 2021. I'm like, what? So this game also, I don't know if it was because they were setting up a couple other projects, because then before we got Hellblade 2 or any type of date or real gameplay for it, we got like the Project Mara announcement. We're like, what the fuck? Like, why are they announcing another game? Like, I think this company probably was allocating its new budget from Microsoft and laying out a long-term roadmap. And I am a firm believer that if anything, I think Hellblade 2 is supposed to arrive maybe a little bit sooner. I think this game would have hit a lot different if I had it sooner. But games like A Plague Tale Requiem, I don't know if people received that criticism well, but I felt like that's a game that did what Hellblade 1 did. They learned from that and did it much better. And it felt like by the time we got to Hellblade 2, it was almost made its own little time chamber. It felt like the design had not evolved. And I get it because, I remember reviewing the Order 1886 before launch, and I had that experience there was so vital in reviewing Hellblade 2, because with Order 1886, it was like, so many questions for me is like learning about game development. Like, why are they not making these very obvious design decisions? You realize just how much fidelity like taxes the design of the game, that you don't have room to like blow open levels and really go all out with exploration and gunfights. And like, why is this game so short? And so that really aided me tremendously in understanding what kind of game Hellblade 2 was. So I wouldn't even say it was a wrong headspace. If anything, perfect game for where I'm at right now in my life. Right now, prepping for travel, trying to hit a game deadline. I've actually fit in. I might have like jinxed myself. I've been fitting in more times for gaming lately, but I've been jumping around with a lot of games for Retro Rebound and stuff. So for me, it was nice to be able to park it on a game and like know, oh, this is going to get beat. And this is going to get beat fast. And that's not because I'm in a rush. When I say the headspace, I'm like, I welcome that experience right now. I prefer my longer JRPGs, but I was very much into the idea of like, oh, this is like 10 hours tops. Definitely shot way below that mark, but this is like 10 hours tops. And like, I'm going to enjoy this. I get to kind of coast through it throughout the middle of the week to the weekend, let my thoughts digest and deliver my review. Like, this is perfect. Like, I could not have asked for anything better. So for me, at least, I wouldn't say it was a headspace thing either. But I appreciate the fair questions here. And I wanted to make sure, at least on my end, that before I get into any further critiques, I definitely I scrub clean the Naughty Dog mess I created. I think it's fair. I think it's fair. People hold my feet to the fire. I welcome it. I understand it. But what about you guys, Cog? What was your mindset going in? What were your expectations going in? We've covered this game so extensively here on this show. Where you were just expecting more Hellblade 1? Were you expecting like Hellblade 1 but bigger or just better looking?
No.
What was the thought process going in?
You made a good point. I was with you in the beginning. I'll be honest. You know, when they debuted the game as a visual showpiece as well as what they want to sell the Series X with, right? Mm-hmm. At that point, I was expecting bigger, larger, better, right? And more expounding upon what Hellblade is as opposed to what we got, because it's not until we got to the direct, like Gene said, you develop a direct, and then they literally came out and said, no, we're going for this, we're going for that. And I'm like, oh, and this is, you know where this reminds me of, Maddie, you're going to laugh. I had to check myself because this is the same thing I did to myself with Josh Sawyer and
Pentiment. Yeah, you learned from that.
Josh Sawyer was making a new IP. I said, "Oh,
Disco Elysium, like
we get double, we get a couple of A's on this." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be crazy." And then, right, as you get closer to revealing and learning what the project is, and he's like, "Yeah, I need to take a mental break between the Pillars things and these games," and I'm like, "Oh, this is smaller. This is it." And I had to. I was disappointed in that moment, in that little capsule. I was like, damn, this is what I wanted to do, but now this is what they're doing. And obviously we had him in the realm with the Dukes, and he told us like he needed that palate cleanse between the next big game, right? So then when I played Pentiment, because remember, coming in, I go front, when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, Bible Stories, the game, what are we doing? Like I didn't know what they were going for. But when I actually played, I'm like, no, this is actually a high quality game. And it happens sometimes. I think so. In this case, I think it is fair to you. And I think it's fair to anyone who says, with the initial viewing of Hellblade 2, I thought this would be a bigger game. And, then to find out later, okay, this is what they go. I can understand that initial disappointment and expectation there. So,
yeah, like I get it, everyone. I'm rarely wrong. So when I am, it's a pretty fucking big deal. I get it. Gene, any thoughts on expectations going in, or shall we just start to dig deep into elements of this game?
Yeah, well, I want to say regarding expectations, my expectations were, I feel like were managed correctly. So our buddy Tyler here talks about how from what little we saw up to release, it always had the feeling that it would be more of the same, which I think is fine given the nature of this title. Now, I listen to every single interview Ninja Theory has done. I watch every single Developer Direct, and I watch every single interview. And I listen carefully to what their messaging was. They never mention gameplay. Ever. When you ask them directly, how has the combat changed, Don Matthews, from 1 and 2? The only thing he'll only say is talk about the intensity of the motion capture
good point,
and how the audio experience is going to enhance things.
There were other comments. I just want to throw this in here because it just sparked in my head. I thought of it when I was on my walk yesterday. Cog, remember when we were covering how they hired a sword fighting class for the whole animation team? That was why I thought the combat was going to be sick in this game. I'm like, oh, they got the animation team training? Like, that's going to be fire. Sorry, Gene, continue.
Yeah. No, Gene
because all they did was just cosplay and film these guys, just filmed a lot of animations of the way to swing a sword for people to bump into each other and everything like that. But it really, really didn't evolve the gameplay at all because he knew that he had nothing to say. He had nothing to say.
Okay.
So I was extremely, extremely worried. So my expectations were coming in extremely, extremely worried that there was going to be very, very little gameplay. And so my expectations were unfortunately met, you know? Unfortunately, I was really, really shocked. The fighting, the fighting, I'm not too surprised at, right? Even though I was obviously disappointed that the fighting is simpler, right? Because I mean, we can talk about how the combat is actually kind of cool in some moments, anyways, right? But the puzzles, I was really surprised at how much they were smaller. I was really surprised at how much smaller the environments are. That's what I was shocked at, because the puzzles were kind of annoying in Hellblade 1, but there was some exploration. You actually get to explore a tower. You go up and down the thing. You kind of explore ruins, right? In Hellblade 2, you have a village that's burned down, and you open some doors and you walk through them, and there's nothing there, and then you find your glyphs, right? There's no tower. There's no a place to explore. There's no real sense of place where you're kind of walking back and forth. Again, like it's really just hallway. So if you really, really listen to what Ninja Theory were saying, they weren't lying, but they weren't saying anything about the gameplay at all. Period. You listen to the interviews they did with Kind of Funny. Listen to the interviews they did with Friends Per Second podcasts. They have nothing to say about the gameplay.
Let's dive into the gameplay then, right? On an individual level. So what it is now is a lot of what you saw Hellblade 1 in that, it's one-on-one encounters strictly. And what I think
had multiple encounters in Hellblade 1, remember?
Oh, they did? You could go 1-on-2 in Hellblade 1? I don't remember.
You can go 1-on-5. You can. It was like 1 versus 7 in Hellblade 1.
Interesting. Okay, let me correct myself. Yeah. The change here
and then you had to flick the right analog stick to switch between the targets.
Oh yeah.
And then the voice would say, "Behind you, look behind you." And so that's how. So again, the audio experience is better in Hellblade 1.
Did I overlook that in my review?
Because in Hellblade 2, they don't fucking tell you when to parry or anything like that, because there's nothing to say in the combat besides attack.
I disagree. They do say, they be like, "Yo, she's faster than you." We cannot. I understand your point as far as because they were doing 1-on-1, so you don't get the behind you stuff. I agree with that. But they was, in my opinion, they was super involved during the combat. Intensely, to the point that they were like, we cannot lose here. And they're like, he's stronger than you. He's so much better than you. Like, again,
it seemed like it was depicting her doubt rather than like mechanical spatial awareness.
It has to be a gameplay mechanical thing to make it interesting to me, Like,
I got you.
Yeah. That was my big problem with the psychosis depiction in this game, which I know like some people don't want to critique it, but I think, it's a big part of the game. You have to talk about it. And it's like, to me, I think they did a worse job. Like, I truly think that, just because, me and Gene, I have to coin your term for this. It felt like yellow paint for media literacy. It was like, this sort of thing where, like, instead of her doubts and her thoughts and storytelling elements being packed into these voices, or you mentioned the combat mechanics part, which I completely overlooked. In Hellblade 2, it's more like this guy who's clearly sketchy. Like, you'll hear in Senua's head, like, sketchy, watch out. He's not telling you the truth. I'm like, I kind of put that together. Like, thank you. It was used in a AAA level to guide the player at times. Like, we should go up there. Yeah, up there. I'm like, okay, like, I guess I'll go check up there. It was,
I didn't really need the voices to telling me what Thorgestur was thinking, because like the facial animation is so good. You spent all this time with the mocapping your facial animation.
The hard work at times.
The point is for me to look at his face and to read that, right? And then you see that all the time in like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where like the characters aren't really saying anything, and then the storytelling is part of the facial animation, whereas in Hellblade the voices are interpreting everything that's going on in the story, right?
Yeah, but I really did. It's funny because the combat is far leaner than the first one in a lot of areas, but I kind of enjoyed it in the second one more because this.
I was going to say,
no, I mean that's what I said in my review. I said, look, it may be leaner, but there's a feel, and I think that's one of Hellblade's strengths. Has always been
good,
like the feel of the. Well, I was more talking about the emotions, like the emotional intensity. Like, that's what I remember so well with Hellblade 1. Is like I felt so many emotions playing it, and like one of them was like fear and anxiety. Like, you're just getting overwhelmed. You feel like you're drowning in enemies at times, right? But Hellblade 2, you're drowning in a different way. Like, you're fighting one-on-one, and the second you barely cleave someone through, someone grabs you from behind, flips you around, and you see a dude holding like a fire torch. You're like, oh fuck this guy. Like, I gotta back up, get some space. Like, I really one of my biggest frustrations with the game is like, you guys got to use the combat more. Like, you guys have made good combat in so many games. Hellblade 1 it was thin, but it was respectable combat. DMC Devil May Cry is some of the best combat in a video game. Like, you've made great combat-driven games, and I get you're looking to make art, but in games, I think art is also fun, and you've lost some of that when you're so focused on delivering the artsy moment that, like, you forgot. Like, I don't think it's excusable that Hellblade 2 is mechanically leaner on a combat level than Hellblade 1. But also, I just wish they made use of this more. It's like a couple of fights, maybe if you're lucky, a chapter, and that's it. And it feels like they're compensating, because like there are stretches in the game where you get to like the end of a chapter and you fight for a while. And I'm like, I love that. That was so good. I won't say when, but I was like, oh man, that was so good. And then you still fight for another like 45 minutes to an hour, which wouldn't be a problem. But the reason why I think this game was to some degree supposed to, even if it's a couple hours, was supposed to be bigger, is because the way it uses its runtime just feels so wrong, is how I'd put it. Like, it's shorter than the first one. It took me 5 hours to beat. The other couple hours I spent with the game was in the new game plus mode, which I thought was pretty sick. But
yeah, different narrator.
Yeah, like that was awesome. But you beat it in like 5 hours, and when like 3 of those are consumed by puzzle solving, another hour is consumed by walking, and then you just have this little part of the game that's fighting, which I think is one of the strongest parts of it. It just feels like it misuses its strengths, like storytelling and intense gameplay are, I think, the best things about Hellblade 1. And it feels like they forgot what made good storytelling in Hellblade 2 from Hellblade 1, and that the gameplay just isn't present enough where I know, Gene, Cog, you mentioned you like the puzzle variety, and Gene, you seemed a little more tolerable of it than me. I think I'm at the bottom of the totem pole here in terms of enjoying it. Like, I was just like, again, if you're going to go for this artsy game, this has to be thematically connected. You cannot give me a 5-hour game and be like, we're buying you some time. That's fine when I'm playing like God of War, and I got a ton of time. I'm fighting a shit ton, and I want something that lets me breathe after 40 hours. Like, I want that. But in a game where you give me 5 hours, I either need you to ramp things up tremendously or give me less downtime in more interesting ways.
There's too much breath here. Too much breath.
Yeah, I have too much oxygen right now. Yeah,
I'm way too relaxed right now. Yeah,
the gameplay side of things, it just, again, it brought me back to Plague Tale Requiem. I'm like, I still had that moment of awe-inspiring visuals. I think that is one of the Plague Tale Requiem is one of the most beautiful games I've played, but it didn't sacrifice like its story or its stealth mechanics. Plague Tale Requiem has puzzles, like the rats and the shadows and the manipulating of light. Those are puzzles, but they're interesting in how they interact with the gameplay and the world. And so I wasn't comparing it 1-to-1, but the experience to me set me so far south, let me be so sour. I was like, I got to analyze these, if you will, movie style games I've played in the past. I'm like, that's why in my review, I bring up so many. I bring up The Order, I bring up Rise, I bring up a Plague Tale. I'm like, I'm just pulling out all of this experience. I'm like, why did I like these? And this is right in line with stuff I've enjoyed. I think that's why. I just think how they used the runtime was greatly problematic for me. And now it's like, I gotta wait 5 years to hope that they like get another, they use another 5 hours right. Just doesn't seem right to
me. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's what I think the division is, right, and the way it's perceived. And I think you're making valid points for, your experience. You didn't like that, and I definitely understand where you're coming from. I think for me, it was just, I guess why it was so different for me is that the combat was so strong to me, even though minus those features that Gene mentioned, which is, the melee stuff and the, running down a certain specific way. Like, the thing that resonated with me is that every battle felt like a fight for Senua's life. And every battle, from the animation style to the intensity, I'm talking about when parry timing is off, you get staggered, you feel weak, you have made a mistake. And then I like the enemy AI, they're not going to allow you to just flail and hit them, roughshod for whatever reason. I think my nitpick on the parry, if I had to nitpick, on the combat, was I did feel the focusing was kind of like the win button. It was like, all right,
bro, anytime a fire bro showed up,
all right,
take out that mirror.
Take out. I give you that. I felt that part. All right. I know what it is. And I did test one encounter where, I tried to just use pure skill and not use it. And one encounter, I believe it was when they were the shimmery images. they wouldn't let me execute. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So I was like, you have to use it in that encounter, right? So that part, I'm like, all right, gameplay wise, game design, that's a regression there. I give you that. I think for me though, it's just like, it was so intense, so fun, all that combat, it really took it to the next level for me. And then even though it's simplified, there was precision. So as far as that, what you're saying with the runtime stuff, no, I give you that. Way too short. Way too short. Like I'm like, damn, like for me, the highlights without spoiling for those who are listening, I mean, obviously not that long game, but where we differ is 3 to 4, the build up towards the Hidden Folk, doing that thing, I thought it was excellent. I felt I was diving deeper to find out more about how to deal with said situation. I'm not going to say it. But when I got to said situation, that's when the game said to me, oh, wait a minute, we're not, for these segments, we're not 30 frames per second, or we're 60 frames per second. Oh, you're going to survive, and you're going to do the set pieces was so cool to me. The biome diversity was so cool. The photogeometry in Iceland was so cool to me that there's one thing, the volcano stuff. If you know what I know. You know what I mean? I absolutely loved that. I was on the edge of my seat going from...
That was the best moment in the game.
Bro, the lead up from that all the way to that.
Chapter 4 was phenomenal. I really liked that. That's what punctuated my dislike at times. I was like, man, that shit was so good. Like, I want more of that.
Bro, I'm on fire. And then here's the thing where I'm like, all right, I'm going to expose them. Because from the era of vertical slices, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I can only do one character on the screen. Let me see. Then I start to see, okay, we got a multiple group NPCs that we're together. Okay, cool. But the thing that did it for me, where I knew that this was a design choice, was Act 5. The end of Act 5, there's a situation, actually towards the end of Act 5, there's a situation when the village is besieged with your companions. Mm-hmm. And there's a situation where the slave is like, Senua, I got you. And it's all going on at the same time. Multiple. It was insane. I'm like, oh my God, I thought they couldn't do this. Like, I thought this was not possible. Mm-hmm. Then I started to get the variants in the enemy types. We had the Schmeagles. We had the dude, I call the Schmeagles, the dudes that were very feral. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You had the standard, obviously, combat guys from the beginning. You had the shielded guy. You had the flame guy. I'm like, I'm good. And then we had some moments that I can't talk about because we've seen the trailer, right, mm-hmm. from the Game Awards 2, where I'm like, all right, is that real? Are you doing that? No, you're doing that. I'm like, okay, then you're running back and you're doing it. And it was the whole scale. I'm like, that they did everything that they showed in that trailer, and I got to control it. So in my opinion, yes, it's some things overly cinematic where it's less gamey and people are like, yo, Cog, that's not for me. Fair. But for me, they delivered on every aspect of it. And a lot of it was controllable. So I think the issue here is, yes, it's a piece of art. It's its own style of game, but it's not going to be for everyone. And I do feel that, yes, some people will say, hey, the story resonated more with me in part 1. I think that's fair. But for me, I love the game. I don't know what else to say.
I'm glad you love it.
I love it because it's like, but I absolutely love the game. Like, I really do.
I really think the second half of the game, minus like 2 puzzles, Gene watched me in real time just like vent my frustrations because I was like, I was like, motherfucker. I was so annoyed at one stretch because I was like, this is getting so good, and they shoot themselves in the foot so many times for me. But really, when it ends, it left me with that order feeling of like, oh my God, it just ended right when I felt like it was beginning. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah, and I really think an extra hour. I'm not even asking for a ton, like 3 more hours.
I give you that.
I think 1 extra hour of runtime would have gone so far with this game, where it literally could have flipped the switch of like, I went from, I was kind of disappointed in Hellblade to be like, oh, I liked it. I don't know if I would have loved it, right. but like an hour is so precious in this type of game. But
no, that's fair.
The second half was just, it had a lot more going on. It was a lot more interesting. The story was coming together.
Yeah.
You mentioned pushing technical boundaries. Like, those limitations were gone. I was like, oh, okay, it's not just like the singular character on screen. Like, there's a lot more happening here. Like, it was getting gradually more impressive. And I was like, just when they were there, done. I'm like, dude.
No, I get it. And to our point, obviously in internal chat, we were talking, And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a break at the edge of my seat. And I'm like, Gene, where I'm at? And I'm like, you're like, yeah, you got one more to go. I'm like, what? I'm like, what you mean I got one more? I said so. And then I saw Maddie say the same thing. Like, I guess we just going to power through it tonight because we're at the end. And I'm like, that was disheartening. I will give you that.
I was on chapter 4 and Gene's like, oh yeah, you got a couple more to go. I was like, oh, like, what?
Oh yeah, you're good. You're almost there.
You're almost there.
I was watching Twitch streams. And Lyric was like, yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming. You know, like who knows how long this game might be. And like the chat is like, you're at the last chapter. It's over. It's over. You're done.
It's over.
It was literally the last chapter. It was chapter 6. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll finish it then.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And where I do align with Eugene when we talk, offline, is it did give you this sense, for me, a slight sense of abruptness with the at the end, without spoiling. We did get a conclusion, and we see, at Maddie's point, we saw what they're trying to do. But it's like, God damn it, could you give me at least?
I think another hour is a great way to put it. And Jake Baldino actually said exactly that. He's like, really? Yeah, I could have used like another hour. And I'm like, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, one more hour of something else could have worked. With the characters too, because the characters just kind of disappear too.
And thank you for saying that, because that was my frustration. I'm like, the reason why I love this one the most was because of other characters. So I'm like, can we find out the fates? Can we build more with them? Because there was a chapter that they flirted, without spoiling, of what I'm going to consider the mysterious forest. They left an opportunity on the table to have a choice and consequence decision.
I know. If y'all
remember. I'm like,
I
could have did something with that.
It could have been one interesting moment, right? But then I noticed, like, oh, it didn't matter anyway. So
it didn't matter.
Very quickly, might
very quickly didn't matter.
Very quickly.
Like 10 seconds later, I'm like,
I was like, ooh, did I make a choice?
Nope.
And then I turned the camera around and I was like, oh, I did it. Okay.
I had the same moment. Where I got to give y'all that. I did not like that. I was like, oh, this meant nothing.
You talk for remember that one. I completely forgot that moment. But I was like,
well, the chat gonna know. Rumble Dukes, y'all gonna know about the mysterious forest. I was definitely not happy with that
forest. I fucking hate that. That. To me, that is the worst part of the game. To me,
that's fair.
Maddie has that earlier puzzle. To me, that whole forest is worse because of that moment. I thought they were cooking. I thought they were cooking, and then they didn't. Like,
I give you that. Well, I give you that. Fair
I guess we went for a walk for a little bit then.
No doubt.
This is right in here from Steve Forgione. Sticking with the length of the game, says, hey, Gooners, am I crazy, or was the expectation from Xbox's 2018 studio buying spree that these teams would scale up to AAA, that it would take so long for these games to come out? Why did Ninja Theory take 6 years to make a game that apparently takes 5 hours to complete? Should we temper our expectations for games like State of Decay 3 and South of Midnight, knowing that despite the time they've spent on them, neither will be actual AAA games given the studio working on them? Are games like Fable and Perfect Dark going to actually be AAA pillars for Xbox, or more Game Pass fodder? Thanks for entertaining my questions, and have a we were eating better with the burger, fries, and shake kind of day.
Disrespectful.
We know what's getting bad out there, and that everyone's down when that is the conclusion to our write-in. Just to kind of round out, because I know we're going to talk a lot about the game length here. I guess to round it out, how does it shape your perspective on the future of the Xbox first party stable? And obviously we kind of got into how it was disappointing that Hellblade 2 was pretty short. But does this kind of shape expectations at all for other games? Because for me, it doesn't. Like Starfield it's arguably the most massive BGS game. Not just accounting for like procedural content, like it's just tough to sometimes find the scripted content, but that game's huge. I think I don't feel like there's been a major concession on like content given out. I think Hi-Fi Rush is a really good example of that. I know it's bit them in the ass, but you look at a game like that, and they dropped that on Game Pass day one. It had like a great new game plus, nice 10-hour game. I don't feel like what's happening here with Ninja Theory is what the Xbox community needs to know is like what happens with one team does not happen to all of them.
Yeah.
It's never been like that. It will never be like that. Obsidian's a great example. They get to kind of function on their own, and I think that aids in Xbox's philosophy of like, well, we just let the studios do their own thing, because responsible studios like Obsidian get like 4 games out a year, and it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to do that for everyone. And then you get someone like Ninja Theory who gets like 6 years on a game, and they come out with something 5 hours long. And people are like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah, I don't think Doom is going to come out. It's going to be 3 hours. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about.
I don't think you need to temper expectations for State of Decay.
I think we're fine in that regard.
I agree.
I think it speaks to the diversity in Xbox's lineup, and that they could be able to be creating so many different experiences. You know, versus Sony, which mostly has every Sony first party game is going to be some longer game, right? So
yeah. What about you, Cog? Is this shaping your outlook on first party?
Nah, same boat. And I think that was the point I wanted to make in reference to, we have to be careful with when we have our thoughts in terms of the state of the game versus the state of Xbox. And sometimes what I was seeing is the state of Xbox being kind of put into the review of the game. And I just want to make sure that, these are separate. And I understand people, this is a polarizing game. It's not going to be for everybody. And I could see because of this, some people are like, yo, should we be concerned now, with the others? But each situation is completely different. Everyone has their own timetable. And to what Gene Park's point is that I really like is the reason why I like their lineup so much is that there's such a diversity of genres and style of games. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what resonates with me as a gamer, as opposed to just one style being, more of the majority of the type of game it is, so for me,
here's the thing. If Xbox had, if Halo Infinite was received well and Starfield was really received well, and Xbox has a whole bunch of other shit going on, and then Hellblade 2 came out, Hellblade 2 is an awesome addition to the diversity of that lineup, right?
Yeah.
If we had a Sunset Overdrive and basically what we had in the Xbox One,
there's something
to crackdown going on.
Oh God, let's not talk about that.
There's something to be said about the ramping pressure on each consecutive exclusive from Xbox. We talked about last year really started with Starfield, and that's not to make excuses. It's to say that Redfall came out, there was excitement for it, and it was an oh shit moment. It was there was major quality oversight here. So concern fell on Starfield. Starfield had to be incredible. I think it was really good. I don't know if I go to incredible, but I really like that game a lot. But I can get why it didn't deliver for everyone. So now we move into another year of trials and trepidation, and we arrive at Hellblade 2. This has to deliver. This has to be not just great, it has to be incredible. There's no denying, even as someone who's not a fan of Hellblade 2, that I don't know how fair it is some of these games get reviewed from Xbox with the surrounding situation influencing scores for some. And I mean that on both ends of the spectrum. I'm seeing some wild 10s and I'm like, are you doing that to pull someone out of the fire? And I'm seeing some wild low scores. I'm like, are you pulling yourself out of the emotionality of the moment enough to fairly critique the game? And it's going to happen again and again until one game just fucking stands up to the task and knocks a home run out that puts everyone on their ass. I don't know if it'll be Starfield's expansion. I don't know if it'll be Avowed. But what people need to recognize with Xbox, it's going to take, as we said with Starfield, it's not going to be just Starfield. It wasn't just going to be Hellblade. It takes everyone. Everyone needs to show out. That is what would build confidence in the brand and be like, oh yeah, now they're really cooking because everyone's going. Imagine if PlayStation just dropped God of War and that was it. And then you got big question marks surrounding it, right? It was the reason people bought in with PlayStation 4 is you got Bloodborne, you got Ghost of Tsushima, you got God of War, you got Horizon, you got Days Gone. I mean, you got so many different games. It takes a village. It always takes a village.
Oh yeah.
And then there's even a parallel on Nintendo in terms of expectations, because obviously everyone knows that Nintendo first party games would be good. So there's no worry on that end, right? But at a micro level, the Nintendo sports games. Everyone knows now there's a whole thing in the Nintendo community where when Nintendo is cooking up a sports game, everyone's worried because it's probably going to be missing a lot of features for some reason. It's going to be pared back, and then there's going to be a really an online component that isn't going to be that great, but they're going to be selling extra characters on it. So even on the Nintendo side, there is now a feeling that every sports game from Nintendo is probably going to be pretty shitty. Mario Soccer and everything.
I loved Mario Golf, but I also didn't play
Mario Golf.
I didn't play much of the earlier Mario Golf games, but I put a ton of hours into Mario Golf. That shit was so much fun to me. Ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, but the old Mario Golf games are so much better. That's
what I heard. They're more like RPGs and stuff. And I was thinking, I bet if I played those, I'd feel the same way. I bet a ton of money on that game, though. Me and my friends always went at it in those games. It was so fun.
We're not doing a spoiler on Hellblade right now, though, right?
No, we're not going to do any spoilers for Hellblade 2.
Okay.
We'll have to wait a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, it'd probably be one of the safest games to do spoilers for because you could beat it quickly. But I just want to, for respect to the audience, we're just we'll leave it there. Is there anything else you guys want to throw out there on Hellblade 2? I have some follow-up questions that we can get to. More is like when we're moving on from all of this and just like we're going to look ahead. What are we thinking about? That sort of thing. But anything for the game itself, things that you liked, things that you disliked. For me, one extra thing I'll call out that I really liked, I mentioned the new game plus mode. I think that was a really cool call.
Yes.
I also want to say the music in this game is really good, really, really good stuff.
I actually like the music I think the music in the first game was better.
I believe it. For me, like again, I think of like when the combat first started, the first encounter, that like dun dun dun.
Oh yeah.
So good. I was like, yo, give me that blade now. I'm gonna impale this dude. Like that shit was awesome. So Hellblade 2 has some good qualities to it. I wanted a lot more out of it. It did not deliver for me. Cog, any closing thoughts on Hellblade 2 for you?
Yeah, man. Like I said, from a person that looks at Hellblade as this very distinct, bespoke genre thing, that the way I look at Hellblade is no one is doing this. Like there's no other game that I can really compare one to one and say you're doing this. And I think for me, I just love, even though I would say there's an argument that they played it safe and did what Hellblade 1 for the most part tried to do and then expound upon it. For me, it's just one of the most immersive, visceral experiences that I experienced it. And I just felt like, for me, they really pushed things forward on the way you tell story. And it's a design choice. It's definitely a choice that they made. I think the last point I want to say is I love the voice acting. I love the narration. I love this evolution of where Senua is. And I did feel I was cut short. I want more of it. But I will say, for a person like me, I like inflection points where I say, okay, at this point, there was nothing like this. And I think that's what Hellblade does for me. And I appreciate what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? Now with the next one, I would like more hours. I would like, to expound upon it and also maybe potentially give some player agency back, to the player. Because I think that is fair criticism. But I really like this game. It's interesting. I probably had it at about a 8.5 kind of thing. That's where I was at with it. But the last thing without spoiling too is that there is a parallel, the part which you said, Matty, where it says, I see what they were trying to do towards the end. And to me, there was a parallel with what they were trying to do with this boss character in conjunction with her personal connection to someone important to her. And I thought they did marry it well. I just felt it was a little abrupt, and that was it. But man, kudos to them. I still liked it. I love the game. So polarizing one, I know for sure. A lot of people
not as polarizing as Starfield, though. I feel so.
Really?
Yeah. No, I feel like if you look at it, really objectively, like in that you peer at the scores versus the scuttlebutt, like the conversation around the game is really a lot of it, I think, amped up because again, people have the pressure of like Xbox needs to succeed and like hey man, bro, Target public enemy number one. Like if fanboys were outside, right? They were really outside.
They would come if I had to get on them. I had to
I appreciate everyone. Gene, I know you said something. Cog, you said something. A lot of people. I was really blown away. I really don't do the woe is me shit. I try to not do it, and I hope it didn't come across that way. But it was definitely more like I'm tired of seeing this type of shit said about me, and I've dealt with it for like over a couple of years now, and I'm gonna just finally tell people enough's enough. So it was really nice to see people come out and support in such a kind way. But when you really look at it, like I feel it's just become a love it or hate it kind of game. I don't think the first Hellblade was like that, but maybe it's because I think the positivity was so loud. It was his mental health theme game. It's very new. It's very different. $20. They're doing like, buy Hellblade 1 and you'll get what's it called? You'll get money donated to like psychosis research and all this stuff. Like there was a lot of positive PR surrounding the game that I think it may have snuffed out criticism coming toward the game, and I think maybe more of that's coming to light here with Hellblade 2, which is why it seems like things are so loud and diverse. Where 82 is pretty solid. I'll admit that I expected more. I expected higher. I expected high 80s. I thought this would be, if we're talking about a 90 kind of OpenCritic game, I thought Hellblade was, I'll admit, I thought Hellblade was their best shot this year. I really did.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
This was a pretty surprising one for me. But I think that the good news is right now that I was happy to see, like, I was worried when I was playing, I was like, oh, this game might get like torn up. I was happy to see it was, in the 80s at least. I was in my head, I'm like, oh, if this Xbox community will melt down if this is in the 70s or 80s. This would be
started off spooky.
Code red. Mm-hmm. So what about you, Gene? Any closing thoughts on Hellblade before we move on to some of the other games you're playing?
I feel like my review is nicer than I really felt, because I have a lot of like pretty negative feelings about Hellblade, honestly. I'll just get it out of the way. One, I think the obsession with single camera shots is stupid. I think we need to stop that. I think it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't improve the story. It doesn't do anything. You're just making it fucking harder for yourself to make the game and tell the story. Stop doing it. You don't need to do it. God of War, both of you. It's stupid.
You calling for more load screens, Gene?
Huh?
Are you calling for more load screens?
I would rather have more loading screens. You don't
want to crawl through the crevice?
No, I don't want to crawl through the crevice.
Persona's a good example of loading screens can be a part of the experience, right?
Yeah.
Get it all artsy.
I would just rather have a good loading screen. Yeah. 3, Cog mentioned the part in the trailer and how that like exceeded his expectations. For me, it met my expectations, which is again, which was worry. When I saw the trailer, I was like, how interactive is this part? And then when I got to the part, I was like, it is as interactive as I worried it would be, in that it wasn't very interactive at all. I was just like, that's it. 4, a lot of reviews, including Cog, said, and I'm not bashing you, Cog, right? I'm just making clear that I'm just disagreeing, right?
Of course.
It's just, I do agree with you. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I do agree with you that there is nothing like this in gaming, and a lot of people have said that, right? I think it's okay to say, even though there's nothing like this, that's probably a good reason. It's probably good that there's nothing else like this, and that I think that this was a bad experiment. That it's fine to experiment things, but I think that I really don't think gaming should go this route at all.
Interesting.
I if anything, I think it's probably part of a huge problem why gaming is where it is today. It's a lot of wasting resources, and that isn't focusing on what makes gaming special. So when I hear things like it's an experience or it's only an audio visual, that's concerning to me, because you should just make a movie.
Like walking simulators, Gene.
Yeah. I hate to say that, but that's how I felt when I was playing Hellblade 2. I was like, you know what? And then sometimes that's better. Like with Shenmue, right? Shenmue is another game that's very divisive, right? It's like I play Shenmue 3. I was like, this could have just been a movie too.
That little gameplay. I love Shenmue 1 and 2, bro, but I'm like scared to play. I'm scared of the heartbreak that 3 would bring me.
3 was so heartbreaking because I love 1 and 2 . So it's like that's why 3. I was like, you should have just made a CG movie, and it would have been so much better.
Gene, quick question: do you like games like Detroit Becomes Human?
I hate Detroit Become Human.
That's why. See, that's all I wanted to say. Not to interrupt your thought. I love that game. So I'm literally the target audience for this, but I totally get what you got. Let me not interrupt. Continue.
Well, the thing is, it's not about the style of gameplay that Detroit Become Human is. I hate the story.
Really?
So like Until Dawn is interesting because that's cool, right? But then Telltale games are cool. I like that. I like 3-hour games. I like Journey.
You like Telltale? What you don't like?
Journey has no combat, but I think Detroit Become Human is an awful game. I think it's the worst David Cage game. Actually, no. I'm sorry because everything regarding Connor in Detroit Become Human was dope.
Oh, you like Connor's story?
I like Connor's story. Connor's story was actually cool.
Tension.
Yeah, everything regarding our Android buddy. I wish the whole game was about him, and I would have been like, actually, this is David Cage's best game, right? I spoke too soon by saying it's his worst game. Beyond Two Souls with Elliot Page.
I got a soft spot for that game. I remember loving that game.
Down.
I love a David Cage game. I haven't played Detroit Become Human, but I love Heavy Rain. That is amazing. I like
Heavy Rain was okay. Heavy Rain was okay.
Beyond Two Souls, I remember playing on Christmas. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is
so fun. I love walking walking simulators, man. I ain't gonna lie. It's a guilty pleasure.
Well, that's the thing. I love walking simulators. That's why I wish, and Greg Miller said this, like, I wish they leaned into it more. I wish that they just made Hellblade 2 a walking simulator, So yeah, maybe not a movie, but I would have been better if it was just like, we're just walking along and Senua just picking up stuff, and then there's a story being told, and we don't have to worry about combat sequences or puzzles interrupting and tying thematically, because if they just told a story, they'd probably be able to tie everything a lot cleaner, because even like you said, that it didn't really fit at the end, but you still liked it. And then for me, if it fit at the end, I probably would have liked the game a lot better, but the fact that it didn't fit at the end, that's where I was like, what was the point of the story? I feel like thematically we went over the same stuff that we did in Hellblade 1. And so it's like that's why it was actually angering and upsetting for me. Whenever I heard Ninja Theory avoid the question of gameplay, I was like, that's bullshit. That you can't talk about the gameplay,
Yeah.
So ultimately, my hot take is I don't think Ninja Theory is a very good studio, guys.
Oh damn!
I don't think they're very good, because Enslaved was okay, but it wasn't that deep. It had pretty shitty puzzles and platforming, but the story was kind of cool, right? DMC was cool, right?
Fucking love that.
DMC was cool, but Heavenly Sword was okay. It was a good for PS3 launch game, and then that's it. And then they got Hellblade 1,
Yeah.
So this isn't some studio that's like storied or has like a lot going on with it. They're still trying to prove themselves. Mm-hmm. And my read is Hellblade 1 was their moment where they kind of proved themselves, and they kind of leaned into the psychosis thing, which I think is a little cringe, to be quite honest. And we should be able to call it out. That I think that they're using mental health as a shield of criticism to be saying, look at our serious game. Look at how seriously we took it. We have our British professor. Look at how serious.
I respect that you call it. I respect that you call it as you see it there.
I call it as I see it. People say that Melanie Juergens had a wonderful performance. I think the performance sucks, guys. It's all she's doing is just baring her gums and just yelling and screaming. So she does the yelling and screaming really, really well, but that does not make a good performance. It does not.
I'm here for Cog's reaction.
We got a second game where all she's doing going like the whole time, that's it,
Yo, you wildin' right now.
So there was the debut trailer, right, in 2019 where they showed Senua kind of going off and going crazy, right? That moment doesn't happen in the game.
I noticed that.
Waiting for that.
At the end, wait, hold up. At the end, it happened.
That wasn't it. That wasn't it.
When she did the thing and she had the paint on the face with the thing.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same sequence, though. It's not the same sequence.
No, not exact 1-to-1, but it's similar. Okay, but I hear what you. Wow, you got. Hey,
so
it resonate with you.
That I'm getting all that off of my chest right now.
I invited it again. Blame me.
I'll go even harder than Manny did. I just don't think that Ninja Theory has a lot of talent right now. And like outside of the visuals, because they couldn't talk about the gameplay.
Well, the question
you have to talk about the gameplay.
The question mark.
Hold on. Well, what if that's what they wanted to do? See, like my thing is a lot of us.
I think they did what they wanted to do. I think what they wanted to do.
They wanted to do. No, that's fair. That's fair. You didn't like what they want to do, but my thing is like we have to admit, like from what they have been consistent in saying on what it is. Mm-hmm. This is their vision. This is what I
think they achieved their vision. I just think the vision sucks.
Yeah, you just don't like it, right? And my thing is, there are a lot of people who like the fact that it's not like everything else. Who it's all this open world, 30-hour, 20-hour bloat, and just for the sake of it. And some people want the voices. Some people want this idea of this unique, bespoke experience. But I get it. It didn't resonate with you. I get it.
Yeah.
Love the conversation here. I don't mean to just, drag the game, but the one thing Gene said did resonate with me heavily, and that the direction of the industry as a whole, I don't know if Hellblade 2 is really the key core sign of it, but it's a really good.
Yeah, I would have put all my blame.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you were. I don't want you to come across that way. I'm just saying it got me thinking that it's a good reference point to look at and be like, we're trending in this direction of, I think gaming's kind of this blank slate that can deliver a ton of experiences because it's interactive, and that's what makes it cool. Like, you can get a movie like experience, or you can get just pure gameplay, or you can get like a marriage of the two. Like, it's kind of pick your flavor, right? That's what's cool about it. But I think there's something to be said about this pursuit of an uncanny valley fidelity and achieving real life visuals And this almost, I call it the mad scientist, right? Like Ninja Theory, kind of what this game taught me is like they're mad scientists. And I know it can be a term of endearment, like, oh, they're cooking in the lab, but it's more like, when I say mad scientist, I think of this like fixation on like a particular element of the game, almost to the point where it's distracted you from what makes even the best of immersive style games great, which is like you spun your wheels on lighting, engine upgrades, facial animations. And that's good to have for a good story, right? These are pieces that help deliver a good story. But for me, when the story didn't land, all of that stuff that you're trying to shower me in, it's like, it's not going to click. It's not going to help because the core of what to me delivers a good story is like the characters and the writing, or sometimes the lack thereof, really. I mean, that's what Hellblade 2 did. Like a lot of its audio did the heavy lifting for its storytelling, Hellblade 1, which was really cool. And so I think with the technical fascination, that the pursuit of technical fascination that Ninja Theory got engulfed in, a lot of companies are getting gobbled up by this mindset of just pursuing this sense of perfectionism that I think is unhealthy. And I've said that in other games. So it's not just singling out Hellblade 2, but I think this pursuit of over perfectionism is causing a lot of teams to spin their wheels, where I wonder about Hellblade 2 if they weren't in this. And by the way, it's something I complimented them for, but if Ninja Theory wasn't a group of just what seems like from the outside looking in pure perfectionists, like every fine detail, if they eased up on that a little bit, would I have got my one extra hour that would have made the game infinitely better? Would that, and that would have made all the difference for me. Right. And I think that's where we lose sight that games can deliver like the key audio visual experience. But, and people may disagree with this, but like to me, Hellblade 1, one of the reasons I raved about it, and I said in my subtitle, my review, this is why we play games, is because it was still a fun ass game at times. Like the combat was still good and it functioned well, but it delivered to me a story in a really unique way. In the traditional way games are told, cutscenes, the camera rotating around the character, good motion capture, all that fun stuff. But then the audio playing a heavy part in that, like it was inventive. With a known quantity here, I think you got to move elements of your game forward that were critiqued in Hellblade 1, which they did. If anything, they regressed in every area. And they got so fixated on just graphics. And to me, that feels like compensation because you didn't make a good game. So it's like, well, let's go. This is the next easiest sales pitch here. And it felt,
that's why they never talked about the gameplay.
Yeah, and I don't mean to beat up on it significantly, but I really do, because it was people won't believe me, but like it was a tough review for me to make. Like I texted Gene like 3 times. I was like, I feel so fucking bad. Like I feel really bad. Like I'm not gonna lie to my audience, but I was like, I feel really fucking bad that this is like what I have to say about this game. Like, no, I don't think anyone was like really rooting for him more than me on this show. Like I was just like, dude, this is like going to be a crowning moment for them. And
we wanted to like this. We wanted to like this.
Yeah, I know you guys both were.
Yeah, like it sucks because especially like I got the receipts. I loved Hellblade 1. I really did.
And I played Hellblade 1 last week. So it was my first time. So my memory of Hellblade 1 is extremely fresh. I have no nostalgia. This is not a game that means a lot to me or anything like that. So it's not like I'm comparing like a great to like the recency bias or anything like that. It's just like I am directly comparing one product or one piece of art to the next one.
Sure.
And like I can see it is very, very clear. So that's why like I was able to describe like the combat completely easily, because I was like, oh no, there's 1 versus 7. And that's why I remember like the voices would like attack, because I just played that last week and it was interesting. So when I played Hellblade 1, I avoided Hellblade 1 because again, I thought it was a little pretentious. I thought the whole mental health thing was a little cringe, to be quite honest. Like from the very beginning, I thought they were just using that as an excuse to like market the game, right? And then I played part 1 and I was like, oh, you know what? I get it. I get why someone would give that an 8 or even 100, I feel like that they really, really did justify the mental health thing with the gameplay. I just think that they really, really didn't with part 2 at all.
The other thing is I think a lot of mental health centric games have kind of moved the needle in other ways.
There's plenty of them.
And
now.
I think for me, I think of Persona 5 Royal. That was one of the most impactful stories I've ever experienced. I've gone on about that before. And I know that's like 100+ hour game. So 130+ hour game in my experience. So, I know that's not maybe the best example. Gene, you brought up a really good example when we were talking, which was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and kind of it being almost its own story of psychosis. I was like, holy fuck, that's a great example that I didn't really look at it that way, but it's so true that like you could argue, depending on your preferences, like that was a better depiction of that theme. And I just think that's the other thing that I didn't tackle that in my review because, you know, I don't want to just like reorganize our conversations and then just like, well, that's it. Here's the review. But but yeah, like that was a really good point that there are other mental health driven games that are out there that I think have, again, learned. Hellblade 1 was a very valuable learning lesson for much of the industry
back then. Yeah,
it was huge. You know, again, and its fidelity to accomplish for a $20 title, the themes.
It came out before God of War too. Yeah. People forget that. But it came out before God of War 2018.
Absolutely. So you look at that sort of stuff, and I think it's been lapped in a number of ways, and that's why I think it coming out sooner. Which I don't think you reveal that alongside the Series X unless you had some inclination, like, hey, this got to be within the next like 3 years. You know,
also Hellblade 1 had FMV moments, right? Which made it really creepy, right? Like, oh, the ex-boyfriend or the father is speaking through you at FMV, right? And they removed all of that for this game, which is weird because like Alan Wake 2 just demonstrated to us last year how FMV could still be used as a really, really spooky and effective way. So like what Maddie said, it felt like, you know, and obviously you can't just like say, oh, Alan Wake 2 did this one, so maybe we should do it, right? But it did feel like, again, that Hellblade 2 was being made in like this isolated space where they weren't seeing where the rest of the games industry was already going, and they were just too focused on like, oh well, you know, like let's make sure Melina Juergen's face looks like this now. You know? And check out our motion capture studio, isn't it great?
Which they built out at the same time, I believe, with development of the game. Because from what I was understanding is they first showed it, they didn't have anything else after they initially showed that at the Series X reveal, and then they started development of the game, COVID, and then the actual studio too. Exactly. So we have to be clear as far as also the conditions that this game was made under. I know that people don't like to talk about the pandemic, but that this studio was deliberately affected. And again, where I vehemently disagree is there is no game talking about and dealing with psychosis in the manner that this is. And I think it's brilliant. I think the audio I feel doesn't get enough credit. I really do. I think it's next level. There's nothing like this at all. And you may say, hey, you want to, you know, tell it better or it didn't connect with you, and that's fine. But I really urge on the side of caution from saying this studio is not a good studio. Like I just not on that at all. Like my thing is, if you are doing things in your weight class in sound, graphics, and again, the way you tell a story, and no one else can do what you're doing, I think you're in a class of your own. Now, you may say, I don't like the complete package. That's fine. But until you can compare anything one-to-one with this style, there's nothing like it. It's such a unique anomaly. It's a package. To me, Hellblade 2 is a genre of its own. The Hellblade series is a genre of its own. And I'm going to stand on developers doing what they want to do and not trying to mimic and catch a wave and do what everyone else is doing. That's what I got into gaming, not to catch waves and do what the trend is. So, you know, it's just divisive. I know I'm passionate about it. You guys are passionate about it.
I love it.
I'm glad we had the discussion because I could see, you know, with the Metacritic at 80, whatever, I thought it'd be lower, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
I thought it'd be lower too. I'm surprised that it's as high as it is.
Yeah, I thought it would be just something for me and nobody else was going to like kind of thing.
No, I again, to my point, again, I think people are just really, really afraid to criticize it a little harder. You know, I like the GameSpot review that really went into the mental health aspect and said that this is worse than the first game in terms of the mental health aspect. I think it's worth talking about and talking about how they dealt with this. You know, yeah, no one else is doing that, but they didn't do it well, you know.
Well, the reason why, again, not to keep going back and forth with you, Gene, and the reason why I disagree is because the way I interpreted it is this is a person who is now conquering their demons from the first game. This is not the first game. Exactly. So if you're conquering a demon, they're not going to overtake you in the same manner. So that's why it resonated. I didn't feel it didn't tell it well. I felt they're doing an evolution of what a character is.
We can't talk about how it did well or without talking about spoilers. That's
I know, and that's the thing. We got to spoil. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'll just say that for me, one of my walking away things was when I was revisiting some old coverage, and they said that Ninja Theory was at 80 members now, and they were at like 20 when the first Hellblade game came around. We've learned time in, time out, project in, project out, that like that amount of staff is almost a means to it. Like, it doesn't fucking matter to some degree. We've seen companies that are like one person make Manor Lords. We've seen 80 people make a 5-hour game now.
2 people make Hollow Knight, right?
Yeah, like we've just seen it time in, time out. Like, there's a skill level, there's a focus level, there's a lot to it here. I'll just say I'm interested to see where they switch up to next, how they deliver the next game. Project Mara, I will say the stuff that they did in Hellblade 2 would be very effective in a horror game. And I'm talking about the tool set, the motion capture studio. That is stuff that I am very excited for. And I hope with the amount of Xbox has invested in them, the new mocap studio, the building up of technology, they have the tool set now where I do think when they do a Hellblade 3, that game, I know it's not what they're known for, but I think that game should be bigger. It should be. The tool set has been built on a fucking new engine. Like, it's all there. It should be bigger. That should be the expectation. I'm excited for the company's future because everything's there. There's a lot of things that people miss or are unaware of, in that a lot of time spent in development is like, I think a quote I heard, I forgot which developer said it, but it's easy to make a game. It's hard to like polish a game. A lot of time, especially with like a project such as Hellblade, which I don't know how much of its tools carried over from the first to the second, but I imagine a lot of it was built like ground up. You build it during COVID as well. Get this whole new mocap studio. I hope with this tool set now, it's going to let them move a little hastier, where it's not going to be another 5-hour wait until you get a Hellblade 3 or a Project Mara. I really hope now that everything's up and running, they get the time. I don't think they should be shuttered. I'm excited for their future. Again, because I think the technology's there, and I think for them, a horror game would be insane. Especially with that,
just like what Mara is.
That seamlessness that they did in Hellblade 2, I think would actually be more effective for a horror game. I agree with Gene that I think if you break it up and stuff, like some of those scans they did of like Iceland, where they just like the end of chapter, camera goes up across the land, it goes. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I recognize that. And then they zoom into another part and you transition and like the chapter begins again. That stuff's cool, but
the bootleg Horizon music plays and you go up to the sky and then it's the next chapter. I'm sorry, I'm just making fun of the
game. I just I almost think I think what's funny is like we're talking about like getting away from what Hellblade 2 is doing at times, and I feel like a lot of it's gonna help their next game. So hopefully some of it stays, but we'll see what Project Mara ends up becoming. I'm keen to see more, but we still got.
I also want to
go ahead.
Let me clarify also what I said about Ninja Theory, that I don't think they're a good studio. I know that's a mean thing to say, but I also believe it. But also, this is not a new belief that has come out because of Hellblade 2. When Xbox announced the acquisition of Ninja Theory, I was like, really? I was like, okay, sure. I was like, that's your salvo to PlayStation. I was like, all right, whatever. All right, we'll see.
Well, the expectation at the time was like, oh, okay, you're gonna get the third person over the shoulder company to make you a third person over the shoulder exclusive. Like, okay,
yeah. So, but I was like, okay, because like and then Ninja Theory is a studio that had that infamous GDC talk that called Devil May Cry cringe and like was kind of anti-Japanese, So like that Ninja Theory was absolutely part of the whole anti-Japanese, anti-JRPG movement back then,
With the terminology thing, that's when that came up. I'm trying to remember.
They were making fun of Devil May Cry. They were saying that Dante is too edgy or too cool or too gay or whatever, And it's
is that why Devil they made Dante the way they did?
That's why DMC was the way he.
That's why when they had the wig, the white wig fall on his head, he's like he like made fun of it and threw it off. That's crazy because they actually thought it was cringe.
So that's why that's why I've never had like a good feeling about Ninja Theory.
The truth coming out.
Yeah,
there it is.
because they talk shit about good games, and when they made one, they made one that was worse.
The truth coming out.
So I've just never really held Ninja Theory in very high regard. So that's just what it is. So
with me, it was always like I just felt they just punched so above their weight, and I'm just like, hopefully with some funding, maybe we get something special. But I get where you're coming from, G. I get what you're coming from.
Let's move on to some other games, gents. We still got a long list to go through for all of us. Cog, let's kick it to you. See, you got a little something else going on alongside your Hellblade 2.
Yeah, this boring, stupid game I keep playing. Destiny. Oh man, they're doing it.
Man,
they're doing it again. They got me. What's the expressions? Once I can step out, they pull me back, bro. They just did something that I'm actually surprised that they unleashed now, because one of the major story beats, and it's not a spoiler, it's everywhere on Twitter, and I know you guys don't care because you don't play that, but the reality is this.
I wouldn't know what a Destiny spoiler is if it just hit me in the face.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, this is what the actual thing is. I'm like,
bro,
no idea, bro.
I feel you. Like, they are literally pulling out all the stops, all the heartstrings, all the emotional things, and something that they debuted today as a story beat. I mean, it's actually today. Literally could have started off the entire new expansion. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's a beloved character named Cade Six, who's played by Nathan Fillion, who was killed off in Forsaken. And this was a controversial part of the game. People... They use it as a marketing beat to sell the game in Forsaken at the time. Like, yo, we're going to avenge what they did to this beloved character. And now that he's been gone for so long, and at the time they told us Cade Six is dead and that is canon. He is not coming back. So where the story is now is basically the big antagonist, the Witness, is doing something to basically end humanity. I'm not going to bore you with Destiny mumbo jumbo, but the reality is this. What has happened as a result of what this character is doing, we are now learning what happened to our beloved character. And they did a trailer, which they never do, which is basically a full story beat, cinematic in-game, high production values, high value. The game starts as like, hey, just start this mission and we're going to explain what's going on. And again, it's so well done. It could have literally been done to start off the final shape, which is the expansion that everything's right.
Oh, the cinematic is in the game?
It's in the game right now. And we're like, what is going on? Like, if they're doing this now, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this could have started the expansion off. So I guess what it is just a feel-good moment in the Destiny community. It's been basically, I'm going to be real with you. I never thought I would say this, but the delay of Final Shape was the best thing that could have happened. Because what happens now is they made this free content that is literally the best content they have ever done.
Wow.
We are like, yo, what is going on? So we're like, imagine if this didn't come out. So yeah, it's just for the Destiny community, but it's complete feel-good vibes. Everyone's back. I told you about Pantheon, Maddie, which is the raid challenges, which is this great thing. And they're firing on all cylinders. We'll see if it actually translates to sales, engagement, if Sony's happy and their board doesn't get dissolved. But right now, they are cooking. They're hotter than fish grease. Okay. I cannot front. Like, bro, they are back. So let's see if they land the plane with the expansion. Because my only worry now, Maddie, is when you kind of bust your load now.
Yeah.
Could you have saved that for the new joint?
Oh man.
Is it light? Now I'm worried in the reverse. Like,
Lightfall. Yeah.
Like, is it gonna be like, did you shoot early? Did you bust early? Like, that's my thing now. Like, we don't like no one busting early. We need a full product, Bungie. But for right now, I have to give, I got to give you your credit for right now. You got everybody back on your side. Let's see if they land the plane. So that's been it.
Gene, let's kick it.
That's exciting because
sorry, go ahead.
The Cade 6 is good for lapsed expats like me because it's like Cade 6 is old enough that I remember that. So it's like well, maybe if I jump in now, that Cade 6 is a good starting marker for someone who hasn't been
there's no such thing.
Fell off since like Shadowkeep. That's where I'm at.
There's no such thing. As someone who jumped in, there's no such thing as a good starting point in that god.
Probably, yeah. I'm just trying to make conversation, man. You
guys are safe where you guys are. Don't worry about it. They are making it easy if you ever get tempted. But fair enough. You guys stay safe over there.
I only say this because I always do want to go back into Destiny, but they haven't made it any easier. I'm waiting for the day Destiny gets to the level that Final Fantasy 14 is at, where you can just jump into Final Fantasy 14 whenever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm waiting for the day when Destiny is able to do that, and it's like because I would love to be able to start all the way from the vanilla Destiny 2 again, all the way to the end. That would be a fun adventure to go through the last few years of Destiny all throughout. Me and Maddie.
Yeah. I would absolutely do that because I mean I hear my co-host rave about it every week. It's like I gotta see what's going on here. Like I I got to get it all under my belt one of these days. So just Bungie, put it out, and then I'll.
Yeah, and we're all old school Bungie fans, so it sucks to like not play the Bungie the Bungie game right now.
That's the annoying part is like when I played Destiny 2 for like 10 hours, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how good a Bungie game feels because it's been like I don't remember the last time with Halo Reach, like Destiny 1 when it came out, like that was really it. And at that point, I wasn't far off of Halo Reach, so I don't say I didn't care, but I didn't resonate as much. But then you go back after over a decade, I'm like, oh yeah, they made good feeling first person shooters. Yeah. That's why I'm excited for Marathon. I'm like, oh, at least that's like a Bungie game I can play or at least try out and not have to worry about the story
that's
initially.
True. Yeah, we can start it from day one at least. I'm excited for a day one Bungie experience again. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Oh my goodness, I missed that. I missed that. They haven't made anything in a while too.
Same thing.
Gene, you got a couple games on your list. I know I share one with you, but let's go through some of your others first here. Go ahead, start us off.
I do. Well, as I mentioned, I played Hellblade 1. I played that on. So I actually unsubscribed from Game Pass Ultimate, but Hellblade 1 was actually available in just regular core Game Pass. So that was cool. I was really grateful for that. So shout out to Game Pass for just leaving that there. And so I was able to play it. I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said. And that got me in the mood to play Hellblade 2. And that's where where my expectations were set. But, pretty good game, Elden Ring. I'm playing Elden Ring now. I never actually finished my very first run of Elden Ring, which was on a PC. So I went back to my PC save. I was stuck at level 99. I was like, interesting. So I'm like wandering around the lands between, like really trying to figure out like what happened in 2022, like what I was doing, like which characters I saw.
Is that always so interesting? Like you never know when the last time you're hopping off a game is. So like rediscovering this old part of yourself in a game is always so interesting.
Yeah, and again, this is like my fresh Elden Ring run with like all the mistakes and like all it was very, very messy. I didn't find like the things that I should have had or I would have liked or whatever. So it's been fun to just kind of rediscover 2022 Elden Ring myself. And I got to the part where you have to kill General Radahn and Mohg, and those are the two bosses that you must make sure are defeated, as far as I know, to be able to qualify for the Shadow of the Earth Tree. But yeah, the Elder Ring big bug bit me. Twitch streamer Kai Cenat was playing it for a 100-hour marathon. So all he did was just wake up, brush his teeth, shower, play Elden Ring, go to sleep at like 6 a.m. So Manny, we were talking about like our youth, man. Like I would wake up at like 7 a.m. and Kai Cenat, this young dude, would just be in his bed like on his phone at like 7 a.m. I was like, fuck shit. Dude. I remember when I used to just stay up all day, just like not doing anything.
Play session, baby.
Yeah, PlayStation 2, baby.
Oh yeah, I remember them days.
But yeah, so I was watching Kai Cenat play, and I was just like, man, he's making the way he talks about the game is so funny too, because he's like he beat like the second boss, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go explore and upgrade my shit, and then just like hearing like him like being excited for it, like yeah. I want to go explore and upgrade my shit too, man. That sounds like a good fucking time. So that's why I just had to pop into Elden Ring, and I'm a little worried now because Elden Ring is so long, and I you do kind of burn out on it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm kind of slowing down now. I beat the two bosses, and I'm just gonna make sure that I have a build that is probably well prepared to be able to equip anything. So I'm just hitting all the soft caps, trying to get to level 40 or statistic 40 on every single thing as I can, and just doing that. What else is there? What else did I put down? Oh, Ghost of Tsushima PC came out.
Ooh, yes.
That was an incredible port, and it runs so well on the Steam Deck. I can just run everything on the medium on Steam Deck, which is basically the PS4 settings. And it runs at a good 30-40 frames per second. It looks gorgeous. I actually put the whole thing down on low. I turned everything low and off, like potato settings.
Yeah,
that game still looks good. It still looks really, really good. It's crazy how Ghost of Tsushima is just like engineered. That is a game of engineering marvel. Remember how it loaded so fast on the PS4 and the regular PS4?
Yes,
that was crazy.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually a little surprised it took them this long for it to come out on PC. 4 years, man.
Yeah,
feels so much more recent.
Yeah, it took as long as making Hellblade 2. Like, what happened, you know?
It's too soon. It's too soon, G.
But it's but you should. I'm surprised. But I guess Nixies was really busy working on all the other ports, Spider-Man and everything like that too. So, really, really good port. A good reminder of how much I love that game. It really is like one of my favorite PlayStation exclusives of all time. Didn't really like the story. I thought the story kind of sucked. But the main story, I thought the side stories were actually really good.
Really
yes,
so the writing, the writing overall isn't bad. I just didn't think the main story was didn't really quite hit. It was enough, you know. And the whole Mongol thing was good too. But man, the gameplay is so solid. It's just so nice to just walk around and just
open world with different things to do. You get to write a haiku. Chase down some foxes. Every one of those fortresses plays a little differently. Like there's different objectives. Like it does all the little things right.
The duels,
yeah. The duels are dope.
Epicness of the duels.
Yeah, especially the ones in the circles too.
Oh,
like the mini boss battles,
lightning storms that are happening in the middle. It's so good.
Yeah. So when you play it, you're like Assassin's Creed Shadows. What you got, man?
Yeah. Oh, the bar is here. I'm about the game. I'm with you, bro. I'm like, they gotta.
That's why they were waiting on the PC port. They were waiting for the Assassin's Creed drop to be like, and now.
Yeah. Reminder, we actually did it kind of better.
Yeah.
Honestly, And again, this is coming from someone who really, really liked Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I really, really love Valhalla. But, if I was going to compare Ace of Valhalla, it goes to Tsushima. Tsushima's got it for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gameplay's got it.
For sure.
So that's been fun. And then lastly, and we can transition to what Manny's been playing. The Starfield May update. Yeah.
Yes.
Hellblade 2. I'm grateful that Hellblade gave me a good excuse to turn on my Xbox again. And I noticed the Starfield was still installed. Updated the patch. I was like, let me dive in real quick and then take a spin. The old school Starfield, and it was so nice to go back into the game. I was level 55, my Gene Park character, everything done, all the main quests done. So I was like, so again, I'm going back to my old character from October 2023. The old days, and it was fun to rediscover my Starfield character, find out where he was at. It's like, okay, I actually did everything in the main quest, and I was really just cleaning up like the random planets and the side quests. And I think that's where the game really sings. People keep talking about how Starfield sucks, and it's like, no, I think Starfield is really, really nice if you just really play it as like a sim, as like Animal Crossing in space. I just really started to play around with the ship. I'm not going to play around with my ship too much because I think the ship customization is supposed to come more later, or is it now?
They added interior customization is there now.
You did? Oh fuck. Okay, so I got to get in on that. Yeah. Then. Okay. All right. Thank you for the reminder. So I will be playing a lot more Starfield probably because for me the game is a 10-10 when it comes to ship building.
Normandy that you made,
Normandy. Yeah. Dedicated. Go find my YouTube. I have a tutorial up on how to make it. It's sleek. It's black. It's blue. It's yellow. It's got an interior section, and it's got Amelia Earhart on it. As co-captain.
Oh wow! You actually have a full guide here.
Starfield's cool, man. Starfield's a cool game. This is a Starfield reunion crew right here too.
Oh yeah, this is it. This is the crew.
Yeah, I've been playing the May update as well, and I gotta say,
tell me all about it. Yeah, I just started last night, so I want to hear all about what's good.
I am loving for this. I am loving.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like this, if this is what we get, and okay, I'll admit, we have waited a long while for this, and it's unacceptable how long it took. That in mind, and I've definitely held their feet to the fire on it. So now I'm gonna give them the praise because they have finally dropped a meaningful update. It's not just that moment of like, yes, finally something. What they have added has made the game so much better already. This is before we get crucial things like vehicles. This is before we get crucial things like new quests, hopefully other forms of exploration. We'll see. Dialogue camera changes. Excellent.
How do you do the dialogue camera change?
So it's under display settings.
Display settings?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was looking for that one.
Yeah, it's under display.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one of the only settings I didn't get a chance to tweak.
I'm pretty sure it's under display.
So cool, though,
go to under settings and everything, and you'll find it there, because there's gameplay options, which I'll get into a little bit, that lets you like tweak the whole experience. But
love those. Yeah. So good. So cool.
The dialogue camera did so much for me. I get what BGS was doing when they put the dialogue camera as they did, more Oblivion-esque, because in Starfield, I mean, the animations are respectable. I mean, in games like Skyrim, like it's doing so many other things, you don't want to call attention to like the not so great things in your game. But what I didn't realize until they took it away, they did something different with Fallout 4, which is more like, I put in quotes, cinematic, like camera angles changing. You don't realize until Starfield takes it away and then they add it back in. I'm like, oh, there was an immersive quality to the way the camera is floating with the world active around me while I'm talking to people. And I really like this. This adds a lot. And it felt more like a Bethesda game that way. So I love the dialogue camera edition. I think that already changed so much for me. I was like, oh, these characters, this world, it feels so much more alive. I'm so much more into this. So I appreciated that. The gameplay options, I increased how much damage I do to the max and how much damage the enemy does to the max. So I made this very much like almost survival, hardcore mode. And it is epic because now firefights are so intense. Like, dude, you get shot twice, my health is almost empty. And I have like a level 50 character as well. And so what it's led me to do is, like, I used to have the old reliable Beowulf. Like, I just pop around corners, shoot anyone, kill them. Combat was just a snooze fest. Now, and this isn't even because I'm in God mode. Like, again, I just mentioned like level 50. Like, I don't have all the perks. I'm not even close to all the perks. So now with this new gameplay option, it doesn't give me any XP boosts, but it makes it where, and you could change this for ship combat. So if you want ship combat to be the same and then ground combat to be like that difference in damage, they have augments for that. But now it's like I'm taking out my silent sniper rifle. I'm stealthing way more. It's made combat a blast. Like like the shooting in Starfield was already good, but this change that I've made by my preference has really enhanced the gameplay. Doing it in ships was also really good for me because sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm getting torn up out here, and so I want to do a little more damage and maybe sometimes minimize their damage. I won't lie, just destroy all who challenge me in space. I think I got to go back to the shipbuilding because I'm using the Mantis right now, and very cool looking. Love my superhero ship, but not in love with it damage wise and defense wise. I'm kind of getting waxed out here, so I might have to go back to the garage and figure a thing or two out. The ship customization is really good as well. Just being able to, I didn't use Starfield's settlement mode at all. It was like the briefest part of my review because, it's like I don't fucking care about this part of the game. Like, it was good for Fallout because it made sense in Fallout, but Starfield's like, why is this here? Well, now it works because I'm in my ship all the time. So I want to customize this. I want to make this cozy. I want to have extra storage space, which is something you could augment with the gameplay options. I want to have extra crafting stations. Like, I want to make this my home because I'm in there more than any other settlement in the game. So that's a good change. Frame rate, 60 FPS now.
Well, let's talk about
We're good. We're good, man. I haven't noticed any Vaseline on the screen either.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, I turn on 62.
Yeah,
and
it
looks solid.
I went into conversation right away.
I'm finally play Starfield in 60.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, I got in conversation right away. I was like, let me see that face. What do you look like? Looks good. I don't know, man. I'm not the best. I admit I don't have like the fully trained eye for it, but I was like, looks good to me. Like, image quality is great. And the new maps that they had, like the city maps, are cool. But by the way, this has nothing to do with what they built. Like, it's great. It works totally fine. In fact, it's probably their most detailed city maps they've ever done. The problem is it's kind of useless because of the way there's no real exploration. You know what's so funny? I never brought up the city maps in my review of Starfield because I was like, oh yeah, I didn't fucking use those. I used my scanner, and anytime I wanted to fast travel, I went to my quest log, pressed X, and would bring me to the star system and the planet I need to go on. And that was it, right? Which is one of the critiques of the game. But the maps, I'm like, okay, great, they're here. And when they add vehicles, I'm like, okay, great, the point A to point B is quicker now. But does that really matter if like there's nowhere to go? Like, the content's there, we know that, but I think this might be, if I were to guess, knowing Bethesda, I feel like these are primers as they're setting the table for, hopefully, at least with the expansion. We don't know if it's going to carry across the whole game, but more content on some of these planets. Like, my compromise with Bethesda, my mental compromise is like, okay, I understand you got 1,000 systems here. You can't, at least right now, throw brand new content to each of these areas and add locations to all of them. What about like key locations? Like, why doesn't Aquila City have surrounding areas and interesting things happening? Like, why not that? Like, this is an important city you go to. Neon, it makes sense. You're just there and there's water. Okay, got it.
Neon makes sense.
But like, why isn't it?
They actually wrote like an excuse for that planet itself.
Why doesn't New Atlantis? Like, you're telling me just people arrive in this city. That's it. There's nothing. Like, no one wants to like start a drug den south of the city or something like that. Like
some suburbs.
Yeah, right. There's suburbs, anything, right? We need life beyond these towns. So I'm hoping that's like their first target area. I think it would go a long way. We know they're adding some sort of bounty hunting side content based on the May update screenshots they showed. So I will just say that this is not like going to be the explode onto the scene update for Starfield, but this is going to be the thing I think people, when they fire back up, when something else bigger catches their attention, they're going to go like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, again, these are all key things for me. Dialogue camera, gameplay options, frame rate, city maps. At least 3 of these are extremely useful now. City maps, we'll see. Dialogue camera is huge for me. Gameplay options are also huge. Like, I changed my carry capacity, greatly increased it because I was like, yo, I'm so tired of being encumbered all the time. Like, just let me carry stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
you can increase the ship capacity too. Yeah, and you can make it so like the ship location you can access the ship inventory anywhere.
Yes, that's what I did.
Crazy.
I love that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it incentivizes you to make the game difficult in other areas because there's an XP modifier. Like, you'll lose XP if you lose.
That's right. Yeah, the XP modifier is cool. I don't need that. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah,
you know?
like once you're God mode, you're just like, I'm gonna get XP anyway. I'm just gonna play the game.
Exactly. You can really go God mode in Starfield, if you play it enough.
Absolutely. So I love this May update. I gotta say, I was very excited by what I saw on screen already, but playing it, I'll admit, like, when I finished Starfield, got back a couple of times for content, but like as a fan, as a player, not really. This was the first time I fired up and I stuck with it for a few days. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I love this update. And it has me very excited for the future, which I really didn't feel for Starfield after I beat it. I was like, yeah, I liked it, but I feel like everyone else is not in on it. So I think, this is going to fix everyone's problems with the game, but I think it's a really important step forward. And I think they did a great job with this update. And can you say worth the wait? Maybe not, but I think, again, in a year's time, what the things I was complaining about, between September and now will matter less if they're going to deliver content like this. This will be great for the game's future.
Popping back in definitely reminded me why I like Starfield. Because I was like, yeah, maybe Starfield wasn't that good. Maybe it wasn't. Sure. Maybe I might have faltered in my review or my enthusiasm for it, right? And I started back up. I'm like, no, everything that I liked is still here.
Yeah,
everything that I really, really enjoyed, the expansiveness of the universe and everything like that. Ships and even the characters, which aren't that great, but like some of the side characters are good, though.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Shout out Andre.
Immediately, I'm playing on the OLED, 120 hertz VRR, bro. I'm like, if this would have launched like this, we even get maybe a couple more points on that Metacritic. Yeah, I will say that.
Even like the inventory weight stuff, like I feel like that in itself could have been enough for people to have like a much better time.
I agree.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, and then the last game I wanted to talk about that I'm playing is Dragon Age Origins. Like I mentioned, I'm chipping through some games for Retro Rebound.
Origins, the original one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I know BioWare has announced that they're like, this summer, we're going to reveal Dreadwolf. And I don't know when it is, but we're hearing these increased rumors about Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And I make it no secret, I love BioWare. Like, even through their mistakes, like Andromeda, I don't view as like a bad game. It's kind of like the black sheep. Like, I look at Anthem, and that's like the one game I go, that's the only BioWare game I've never played. And like, I hopped in.
You never played Anthem?
I played it, but I mean, like, I haven't beat it. But I've beat like every BioWare game multiple times.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get through.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to get through.
Exactly. So for me, like, Dragon Age Origins is one I haven't gone back to in a couple of years now. I was like, you know what? I had this like spur of the moment, like, I'm done with Hellblade. I know I'm traveling soon, but I really just have to focus on Retro Rebound content. I want to finish up Persona 3 Reload very soon to move into hopefully Final Fantasy 14 by July or maybe June. But I'm like, you know what? I might fuck around and do a series replay of Dragon Age. Because I played for 5 hours last night. It got its hooks in me fierce, bro. I fucking love this game, though. It's one of my favorite games ever. But I'm so obsessed with KOTOR that I always end up like between these two. I'm like, oh, I'll go play KOTOR. but yeah, this is I'm very excited for Dreadwolf. I have a lot of faith in BioWare. I don't ask me why, but I do. But Dragon Age Origins is pretty much a spiritual successor to KOTOR and its gameplay elements, like completely built off of all of those. And so if you like KOTOR, then I think you'll love Dragon Age Origins. But it's storytelling, it's music. I'll just say the Battle of Ostagar, like peak video game scene. I recommend people just watch that alone. It is Lord of the Rings on steroids. And as someone who just read Way of Kings, like I can see Brandon Sanderson, who I know likes video games, absolutely borrowed heavily in one of his scenes from what happens in the Battle of Ostagar, 100%. But yeah, this is a game that's way tougher than I remember it was. The combat, like if you're playing on normal difficulty and you get surrounded by enemies, like you really got to pause and move your opponents in your party around. The party members in this game are phenomenal. Liliana's like my favorite character in all of Dragon Age, and the way she's like this member of the church, but also like a fucking assassin is so cool to me. Morgan's obviously fantastic. Like just these are some of BioWare's best characters all in one game. It's crazy. Like Alistair's here. And one thing that Dragon Age does really well with the Dragon Age Keep is you just like carry over your save files. So like the interactions you have here feel so purposeful and meaningful because you know later on, like these characters might or might not show up or will have different interactions with you depending on what you do here. So yeah, man, I've been playing it. I've been loving it. I'm in Redcliffe right now, which is like the one part of Dragon Age I don't like. It's like the one part I'm like, this sucks kind of. Otherwise, though, it's a phenomenal game. And I've actually never played Awakening, the expansion. So I'm going to finally play that for the first time. And I'm really excited about it. So yeah, it's kind of just, it fell upon me. I felt the desire kick in. I'm glad I hopped in. At first, it was going to be like a dip of the toe in the pool. Like I played Dragon Age Origins a bunch of times. So I was like, I'm going to get some gameplay for this. Remind myself why I love it. And I was like, nah, I'm sticking. I'm going to keep playing this shit. This is really good.
Are you playing on PC or?
I'm playing on PC. PC port. PC. Yeah. See, this is what I don't get about EA. Like they've said apparently behind the scenes, like, oh, they're not interested in doing a Dragon Age Legendary Edition. I'm like, why? Especially Dragon Age Origins. Like this game, when you play it on PC, if I dare to hit my Windows key and tab out, it's just crashing.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, constantly. It looks great on PC. Like you can scale it up, but I think all of these games need a little bit of love. And I think putting them in a collection ahead of Dragon Age Dreadwolf, I mean, you got to think of it this way. Dragon Age has been spread across 3 generations, or I'm sorry, 2. And so I just feel like this could use a collection. I hope EA changes their mind. Hopefully we'll find out soon. But just making these accessible, at least on modern platforms, would be a great start because Dragon Age Dreadwolf, from what we're reading and seeing in trailers, like it's shaping up to borrow heavily from games like Dragon Age 2 and Origins, as well as Inquisition. Like all 3 of them are going to be very, very, like not just a little relevant, like especially Dragon Age 2, like extremely relevant. People need to catch up. They really need to catch up. So I hope they figure something else out. But yeah, Dragon Age Origins has been fantastic. Be talking about it again next week. Very excited to stick with this one because I've been all on Mass Effect lately with BioWare, and I was like, oh, let me give Dragon Age some love.
Dragon Age love.
Absolutely.
Dreadwolf coming.
All right, gentlemen, a very long what we're playing section here. We're going to skip some of the extra write-ins that I had planned because it's like, okay, we're going 2 hours in this segment. We got some news to get into. So let's do it, shall we?
Oh, my God.
I know. Activision has opened a brand new studio. There's a new first-party team, technically, for Xbox. It's called Elsewhere Entertainment. They say in the blog post here, Activision has formed an all-new internal studio, Elsewhere Entertainment, the new team headquartered in Warsaw, Poland, same place that we just talked about with Larian, with additional resources in the U.S., is exclusively focused on creating a new narrative-based and genre-defining AAA franchise. Built from the ground up, Elsewhere Entertainment is a premier and standalone studio dedicated to establishing an environment that inspires bold and diverse ideas. The team's underlying mission encourages everyone to explore and collaborate creatively to craft a franchise with an enduring legacy that resonates far beyond games. The talented team at Elsewhere Entertainment consists of a collection of storytelling experts whose credits include The Last of Us, Uncharted, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Destiny, Tom Clancy's The Division, and Far Cry. The new studio has full access to Activision's resources and tools as it continues to increase production and development. Elsewhere is opening its search for best-in-class talent from across the industry and around the world to help create a state-of-the-art and next-generation gaming experience. To learn more about our current openings, visit our career page. So yeah, this is news that Xbox is definitely going to want to, put up on a poster somewhere and broadcast it everywhere, because after closing 4 studios, they get a new one, and this will be a good PR spin for them, no doubt. But we have Elsewhere Entertainment under the Activision banner, right? This is a surprising move, in my opinion, because this is a brand new team, not for Call of Duty, for a new IP they're calling narrative-based and genre-defining. When they say storytelling experts, and I see a few Ubisoft games there, I was like, all right, guys, settle the fuck down over there. But we have a right in here from Daniel Zarni. I'm sorry if I got your last name wrong. Hey, Mighty Dukes. With what is happening right now at Xbox and the changes of studios being closed and a new one opening with Activision, what should we expect at the June 9th Xbox showcase? Do my Duke boys have some thoughts and maybe 5 predictions each? Thanks, boys. Have I hope State of Decay 3 gets shown with gameplay and a release date kind of day. We'll hold our predictions. We're already talking with Jez and Rand on when we can do our prediction show. But what I will say is I felt this kind of teed me up a little bit, because one of my predictions early on is like, oh, whatever they're working on, it will be a CG trailer, but I think it'll get announced, just because I don't think you could hire for this team without knowing what the game's going to be, unless they like just fresh, brand new, open it up. Like they have a handful of teammates and that's it. And they have yet to pick a direction. But I look at Elsewhere, I'm thinking to myself, not only would this be a well-timed sort of thing to divert to if you're Xbox, like I think their mission statement going to this to be like, how do we get the heat off of us? I think you tackle games like Perfect Dark, you tackle games like State of Decay 3 if you can. You tackle the insecurities, right? Address those. Okay, you close 4 studios. Can we show off what a new studio is working on? Shake up the PR a little bit. Like if I'm them, I'm not saying I'm advocating for it, but like if I'm in that building, that's what I'm looking at. I feel like if you're Elsewhere, I don't know how in this industry you hire state-of-the-art talent without them knowing what the game is. For example, when Activision Blizzard was working on Odyssey, they announced like, hey, this is a survival game. And you hire for that. Like there is talent for that genre, programmers, artists, and so on. Maybe less on the art component side of things, but like definitely programmers. Like you hire for specific genres. Some people are talented enough to be a jack of all trades. Not everyone though. So I feel like they got to reveal their game, at least beyond just saying, hey, it's narrative based. It's like, okay, you have a story. What does that exactly mean? So I feel like this could be one that shows up the Xbox showcase as like hey, here's a CG trailer. This is our game. This is the IP. A hiring announcement, right? We've seen that time in, time out. Like when you announce Blade so early, and like even you had I'm forgetting the studio director's name, so I apologize, for Arcane Leon. Dinga. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, Dinga. Yeah.
Come on stage. And his exact words are like, let us cook for a while. We're going to be gone for a while. Why do you announce it then? It's like, you got to hire for it, right? This might be different from what they typically do. So that's my my prediction, I should say, is I think they're going to announce this one at the showcase. I'm curious if you guys agree. And of course, any thoughts on what Elsewhere Entertainment's up to? Cog, let's start off with you.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. It's a good thought exercise. I mean, I don't know. It's first of all, the studio itself. It looks like they've been in incubation for about a year, in 2023, January, I believe. And then just kind of alluded to the fact that he thinks it may be tied potentially to maybe, an IP or something, like it's a potential, maybe some type of transmedia tie-in is what he said. So look, I mean, for me, I'm excited because one, the way I look at it is that anyone at Activision Blizzard that is free from the Call of Duty salt mines is fine by me.
Yeah, I agree.
So I look at that as refreshing, because we do know a lot of those studios are kind of, folded into what we kind of expected. I agree with Colin on the sense that, a lot of people had misguided expectation with the deal that they are still not, like, they're going to, Call of Duty is going to take a year off. And like, I never was with that. I always like it's hopeful. I would hope that would happen. But in my mind, I'm like, that's the breadwinner in conjunction with King. Then they're going to keep, rolling those out. So to hear a studio, Polish base, and I'll be honest, like when I go to a lot of these conventions, I interview a lot of the Polish developer scene is really popular. A lot of really creative ideas I've seen. And then I think from a financial standpoint, I think they save some money out there, is what I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? So look, I'm excited. As far as to your question, whether or not we see them, maybe. I don't know. Part of me, it's like, I don't know why I'm thinking maybe we still have some time before we see them. But hey, I wouldn't be opposed if they came out and they had some idea of what the IP is and that they're working on it. I'm not going to be opposed to it. But it is cool to see elsewhere as a person who, unlike Gene, likes my narrative experiences, everyone. And as a third person over the shoulder, hashtag just one experiences, sad dad, my cat died. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, everyone.
Stellar Blade has a whole quest about a cat dying. So, so you're not wrong.
Every once in a while, you need these emotional things. And you know what it is, Gene? I feel like as much as I love Xbox's diverse lineup, you know, I just want the whole hashtag just one movement started because I'm like, man, can you make one new IP that's not a sequel of something else that came through under your roof from the ground up with that high production value? And I feel that people from the PlayStation ecosystem and other ecosystems, they tend to resonate with the Uncharted, the God of Wars, the Last of Us, regardless that even though I feel sometimes it gets a little formulaic, I do feel Xbox really doesn't have it. And that was the other point I forgot to mention with the Hellblade thing is that it's also the problem in the Xbox community and why the frustration is so high and why I guess Hellblade is celebrated by a lot is that we've always waited for Xbox to say, show us the flops, bro. You talking like you the biggest. You talking like you the baddest, right? When we gonna see the flops? When we gonna see? And I think that's why the Hellblade thing resonates. And that's why with this one, back to elsewhere, people are like, yo, we want to see if they are capable of doing something like that underneath their banner. So we'll see. You know, I'm pulling for them. You know, we'll see what happens, how much time it's taking to cook. It's probably going to be a while before we see this joint. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 4 or 5 years. But I'm happy that this kind of thing exists.
Gene, any thoughts on Elsewhere Entertainment? Do you think we see anything from them soon? Any optimism for this studio? What are your thoughts?
Not much to say other than I echo what Cog says. Like, you know, it'd be cool to have an Xbox unique IP. You know, even Hellblade is on an Xbox IP. You know, a reminder that was a PlayStation exclusive, which I was shocked about. Like, that's crazy. You know, yeah. So it'd just be nice to have something new under the Xbox banner. What was the last time? Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, in a minute. Yeah, I mean,
things are looking spooky right now for Elsewhere Entertainment.
Yeah, like Rise, Son of Rome, Quantum Break, Sunset Over. Those are like the last kind of original with the fidelity and the new, you know, kind of that new protagonist that kind of sets the tone for the generation kind of energy.
Yeah, but they haven't been able to like continue that. You know, we haven't had a Sunset Overdrive IP. Agreed. You know, that's not a thing. So that's my point. It's been frustrating. So, you know, maybe they could cook up some new ideas. But for me, I'm mostly like on Colin's side, where it's like when I hear of a new studio opening, I'm just like, let me just see the game first. You know, I don't care. I don't care who's on it. You know, even if Neil Druckmann left and started a new studio, I'd be like, well, you know, he needs to make a game first. You know, I'm sorry. You know,
I feel that. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to our second bit of news here. Cog, are you ready for your victory lap? Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. Let's see. I want to get your thoughts on this first. Wall Street Journal is reporting that Xbox will be putting the latest Call of Duty game, day one, into Xbox Game Pass. Insiders Shinobi 602 and Ecstasis, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, are claiming changes are coming to Game Pass with the reveal of Call of Duty arriving on said service. All right, sir. How are we feeling about this? You said, I think they're going to do it at least once. Looks like that's what's happening.
I feel vindicated. No,
I invited the victory lap. I want you to get your jog on. Loosen up a little.
Here's the thing. I just feel like, we're all devastated about what happened to Tango. I'm still reeling about it. No one liked what happened, bro. Like that broke my heart. I love Hi-Fi. I love Ghostwire Tokyo, something awful. Like, I really do. I just feel the uniqueness of what they were doing. So look, we're all down. And with good reason. Obviously, they shuttered studios, and now we question the vision, right? I think it's fair to say at that time, are they committed to studios? Are they committed to, is it all big type of games? And are they committed to the actual vision of growing Game Pass? Or has stakeholders taken over, and now it's about ROI and everything goes everywhere? That is fair argument that you and Brad brought up. So I didn't want to, come at y'all like that. I just said the part of me why I always stay committed to why I wanted leadership to at least play it out is because if you're going to do this, if your vision is truly Game Pass and to pivot, then you have to put the biggest game that you acquired, that you put us all through the People's Court, Judge Judy, and all this FTC and EU. You have to put it in that service and see what it does. Now, after that, and if it doesn't do what it does, then we could talk about the ramifications. But I think this was the key moment. So they're going for it. They're going for it, which is what I kind of predicted. And we'll see what happens. It's no surprise, obviously. It's the Cerberus kind of thing. They're going to do it direct. The key is going to be the marketing. The key is going to be hardware, how they tie it in conjunction with it, because you have to let the casual know. Because I know these dudes, Gene, where every year it's NBA 2K, Call of Duty, Madden. Like, no disrespect to Casa, like he considered one of my bros that I grew up with. Like those are those dudes.
That's Kai. Yeah.
Yep. Every year,
Kai is our friend growing up. Exactly.
He's our friend. We all had a friend like that. They don't buy nothing but that. They may get the new GTA, and after that, they're not upgrading. So the key, though, there's one last point I want to say is though, I'm curious. No information has been confirmed. I'm curious if it is a next-gen only COD. When we'll get the break, because I think that when we see GTA, the new GTA, and obviously, I forgot what another game is, that they're going next-gen only, is that going to be a driver? Will that finally get that group to say, all right, you know what? Because we could live still on the PS4 versions and the Xbox One versions, because there's still, I told you that Sinister 6 where people are still staying there. So if they say next gen only and then put it in, maybe that can try to get some hardware boost.
And he's cooking right now, actually.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And just see like, hey, you Series S, Game Pass, Call of Duty, marketing, maybe. So we'll see.
Especially with the information that we know that half of the PlayStation fan base has not upgraded. It's half it's PS5, and then everyone else is still on PS4. So if you get the casuals on the PS4 side to say, "Oh, the new COD is free," right there. I guess I could just get an Xbox now instead, right?
It'd be interesting
because I don't play anything else other than, I guess, God of War every once in a while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
My COD is my life, and it's got Fortnite too. So, and if it's next gen only, then that's a good reason to upgrade for a lot of casuals.
Absolutely.
I think it's, if they go for it, which it seems like they are, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say this is the biggest moment in Game Pass's entire lifespan. Because I think
this is what it's all been about.
Yeah.
This is it.
Like this
is the Super Bowl of Game Pass right now.
Yeah, it really is, because you
need to see.
You really thought there were other games moving the needle. That's what we were led to believe, and we learned pretty harshly just a few weeks ago that that's not the case. That's not really moving the needle. Games like Starfield failed to move the needle. So this is what you fought for, right? Cog made a good point. Like, Call of Duty was what you were in that courtroom going to war for. That's when Jim Ryan heroically stood up and said, "I'm here to block your merger," right? Like that's what this was all about, right? You fought tooth and nail. I do understand Cog's side of the argument in that it makes complete and total sense to try this at least once. The problem is, I just think it's a slippery slope. Like, I'm talking 90 degrees flip down that slope. If this does not pan out, you bring up a lot of questions on what can go day one into the service and what can't. You're doing this with alongside what seems like it's going to be a price hike. We don't know how people will react to that. Many people are already in their head creating realities that we don't know are going to exist. Like, oh, just be 20. What if it's 25? Like, I think that's what us Xbox fans have done a lot of. And we got to get out of that habit of, like, we imagine the best case scenario every time. And it's oftentimes not. So what if it's 25 a month? It's like, you're getting Call of Duty, and they need to move. They need to make all of these stables profitable. And Xbox is going to be losing money if not for Activision Blizzard. That's good on them for having the foresight to get them and pushing them into a very profitable area. But it's going to require a little bit of restructuring on their business. So let's say they do this and it doesn't move the needle for Game Pass. Like, Satya's taking a peek at the numbers. He's like, "Oh no, Phil, I'm sorry to say, but we gained very few new subscribers. And
they no snap you out of here."
Yeah. I'm
so worried about that, man.
It really, I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it really does make me worried, because I'm like, if it doesn't pan out, I mean, can you imagine? You thought this year was a year of fucking change for Xbox. Next year, though, like, they're already bad at communication. The idea of them trying to handle, like, all right, so we did COD day one Game Pass 1 year. Now next year, again, I know I'm speaking from the negative, but like, it doesn't work out. Sorry, guys, you're paying for this one though. Like, how, dude? You think the casual audience is going to take that? They're going to take their money right to PlayStation.
The backlash. Well, I feel like the backlash of not even doing it on for the next COD would already be pretty intense already, right? Because a lot of people might have bought Xbox and Game Pass on the promise of, okay, well, we might get COD now.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick to my guns on one thing. I don't think it's the right business wise. Okay, this is corporate Maddie one more time. Sorry, everyone. I know we don't like corpos in this podcast, but business-wise, if I'm Xbox and I'm trying to stabilize my business, I am sorry, Game Pass users. You are not getting free 99 off me with Call of Duty. You got to fucking pay for it because this is the golden goose.
Not day one, right? Like maybe like a half a year later or something.
So my theory, Gene, was like, just get the last COD day one on Game Pass when the new one drops. So you get MW3. When
EA play them.
Yeah, EA play them.
Exactly, yeah. Put Madden 2023 and 2024.
Yeah,
you know?
I just
disrespect with the old roster.
Like, you go in and you get that taste of like MW3, for example. You're like, damn, I want the new one. Like, I think it would actually work for them. I just think
and Warzone is free too. So and you're just like, but I want that Black Ops 6 skin and the guns and stuff. Right?
I just think if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, I'll talk about it from the consumer standpoint. If you're looking at it from a business standpoint, I just think you are taking, I props to them for seemingly taking the risk, but I think it is such a fucking dangerous play because if you now create an economic issue within the highest grossing game on the planet next to like Pokemon, that is going to spell a lot of trouble because that's the main reason why that 55% revenue came to you in a quarter where you were failing with Xbox.
It's worse than Pokemon too, because Pokemon is not a live service. You know, it might sell more and make more money, but you know, Call of Duty has you got to keep playing and playing and playing throughout.
And Call of Duty is shown the ability to weather any storm. So I don't know if I'm underestimating its lifespan. Like I just feel like these last couple of releases, particularly Sledgehammer ones between World War II and I'm sorry, not World War II, the other one and then what they just released in MW3, it's like the sky is falling, but it still makes a shit ton of money. Like Xbox inherited what I think is one of the worst Call of Duties ever, and it still made them a shit ton of money. So there is an invulnerability, it seems like, to Call of Duty where maybe they're like, fuck it, try it. Like if we change it, it's still going to sell well. Like we'll be totally fine. So yeah, man, like on the consumer side, of course I'm for this. I'm like, yeah, what have we always said in Defining Duke? I will take and extract full value out of my Game Pass subscription until Phil makes the big announcement that it's no longer a thing. Because that is what, like, you can't get your money back once it's spent for the most part. So especially in this all new digital age y'all are pushing for, you can't get your money back. You can't trade in a digital copy of a game. No siree. So I'm just saying, like, look, you know, I will appreciate the money saved, especially on something like Call of Duty. I don't really look forward to it as much as I do every year. I'm curious about this one, given it's getting the developer direct look. I'm like, all right, like, we're hearing rumors of being open world.
For Call of Duty, it would be fascinating,
right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
So very, very keen to see what they pull off here. Gene, any thoughts on Call of Duty day one in Game Pass, and now claims that the service is going to be seeing some changes? Anything outside of price hikes are you expecting? What are you feeling on all of this?
I expect to resubscribe to Game Pass though. When Call of Duty will get me back in. It will. I like Call of Duty a lot. I play every single one every year. I just to give it a shot. So, and I like playing the old ones. So if they could, and there's a ton of old ones. I don't want to buy them all. Right.
True.
It would be kind of convenient just having a subscription service, and they all work online. You know, all the servers are online. I can play the original MW3. You know, you know what it is?
That would be a powerful, robust service. And then if you're still selling shit, you know?
They have to beat one thing that's tough. And we talk about, we all have that friend, you know, the MBAs and everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have our own coworker. I mean, people subscribe to Game Pass for a month, play a game and move on. If you're Xbox, how do you keep them engaged monthly? I think they gained subscribers. Like I bet Starfield gained them a ton of subscribers, but it was like for a month. Like people subscribe and try. Dustin showed us he played Hellblade through Game Pass and then unsubscribed and got his money back. which is kudos to him. But if you're Xbox, that's fucking brutal. You spent how many million on Hellblade 2? You waited this long, and you got Dustin Furman out here playing the game and just unsubscribing right afterwards and getting his money back.
Unsubscribing and getting the fucking refund.
Yeah, dude, you got
cheap ass.
You got swindled by the firm. Your Xbox, you cannot let that happen, right? So I just wonder, even with Call of Duty until I'm like, how do you amass a subscriber base where the singular month subscribers who just hop out after the game drops? How do you overcome that? That's the thing I've been spinning my wheels on. I'm like, that's why I was reluctant about Call of Duty, because I'm like, you get the short-term game, like, 3 million more subscribers in Game Pass, but half of them might leave really quick.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got the multiplayer component, which is, basically why the majority play. I know I'm kind of retired from those days when I used to Prestige, and I used to be one of those guys, but I think the multiplayer component is what they count on, because clearly I think Warzone is free to play.
Yeah, Warzone is free, So that's the thing. So it's like really all the maps and the deathmatch and the capture the flags and everything like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be that and that type of engagement with the multiplayer aspect, and obviously the campaign being as part of it. But no, you're right. This is the thought exercise, Maddie, right? How do they keep people in? And hey, this is why they're paid the big bucks. I want to know too.
They got a lot of stuff coming out in the holiday period. So in fairness, they got Starfield. We're hearing rumors of like more stuff in October. That there might be a Microsoft Flight Simulator, Avowed, Indiana Jones, Call of Duty. So this might be they might want to do this because this might be a good chance to give it a rip and say like, hey, we have monthly content that should keep people engaged. Like it might be a good lesson to. Their rope is getting thinner and thinner here, but it might be a good lesson to learn. Like, all right, how long do we retain these subscribers when it starts in, like the flurry starts in seemingly September?
Yeah, or maybe we're underestimating the true power of COD. I mean, COD is,
it's possible,
as much as we've fallen off of it, I mean, it is a thing. It is it is a ritual game. Like people live in this thing. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what the data shows them.
Completely. All right.
Yeah, they have all the data now. So.
They do. Well, we'll find out shortly. Not too much longer now. We have one last bit of news here. Game Pass pick of the week, and then we're out of here, gents. Final updates for Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush are here. Hi-Fi Rush, it's just bug fixes. The studio sent a little thank you letter for rocking on with them. As for Redfall, very pleasant surprise here in the midst of a shitty scenario.
Offline mode.
Yeah. Offline mode, single player pausing, revamping the neighborhood and nest systems, and they're saying more. No blog post or anything, no patch details, but this was one thing I was complaining about was when Redfall was shut down. I was like, look, I don't like Redfall at all. You cannot just let this game disappear. Like they were working on an offline mode. They were close to finishing it, as it was reported by, I think, The Verge or Jason Schreier, one of the two. You got to let them finish that out and let this game survive. That's like you've already shut them down, I think, in a way where they deserve a second chance, but you got to at least let them get this update. I'm glad that they're able to push this final update out. Get some meaningful changes in there, and it might sting a little bit if Redfall comes out with this revamped neighborhood and nest system and it's like, wow, this is actually pretty good. It might sting a lot, but
I'll check it out. But it makes me want to kind of check it out now. Again, it's like, oh, maybe I might finish it.
Yeah, offline mode though is huge. I'm a big proponent of that. It's like Xbox, you're shipping games half on disc. We need an offline mode. Like we need to support this stuff.
The fact that they did that makes it like exponentially increase my good vibes feeling for Redfall. It's like, okay, well now I feel like I really actually want to try to experience out, and really understand like what they were trying to go for with this multiplayer immersive sim. Like it was a failed experiment, but I'm interested in the ideas, right? So like even with Hellblade 2, I did say that it was a failed experiment. I still think I still expressed in my review, I'm glad I still played it and I'm glad it exists because it's cool to still have the idea out there,
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, well said. I agree. Pretty much everything you guys said.
All right.
Offline was a surprise.
I
did not expect that. I was like, holy shit. Okay, well, thank you, Arcane Austin. I was like, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Really, really great job. Fucking sucks.
I know.
Fucking sucks.
I know.
I completely agree. It's one of those moments where you're happy to see them go out on the highest note possible, like one big push. Hi-Fi Rush is also, if you're going to have a final game, that's a great game. They
Yeah,
deserve to do more.
I wish they were able to do a Switch port. That sucks.
Oh wait, that's not.
I guess it's not coming. All we hear is that the physical limited run games editions are going to go out for PlayStation and Xbox.
Wow, that's such a missed opportunity. That is such a missed opportunity, because I really think seeing if it was going to do well on PlayStation wasn't the play for Hi-Fi Rush. That audience was Switch. It always was Switch. That's got such a handheld game energy to it.
Yeah, I felt like Switch would do well. Damn,
we would have loved it on Switch.
Yeah, I know the report was originally that it was going to be on Switch too. So I hope they finish that out. The thing is, man, they're just going to keep twisting the knife. It's like final update for Redfall, and it might be kind of gas. And here's Hi-Fi Rush again with the announcement of the Switch
on the Switch. Yeah, you're never going to get this ever again. Don't worry, guys. Yeah. You're never going to see this ever
again. Enjoy this one-off game from our boutique studio.
Shout out to John Johannes. Very, very, very cool dude. And I felt for him. Got a chance to interview him. Obviously got a chance to interview, Harvey. And it breaks my heart, that this is the final swan song. Obviously they're doing right with the games, but the way they're releasing them towards the end. But it just sucks we're not going to get anything else from them.
Yeah. Really big bummer, but the final updates are on the way or already out for both Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush. In the case of Hi-Fi Rush, funny enough, the updates were only for PC and PS5. no Xbox updates.
Going on out here, Xbox. What's going on?
They're like, fuck Xbox. Fuck Xbox in totality. Holy shit.
I looked at that.
To be fair, it's probably been updated fine. But it's crazy, though, because the PC version came out at the same time. So I don't know what's going on.
That's why I thought it was so funny. I was like, there's no Xbox updates.
It was just bugs and patches.
You guys get the buggier version. Small updates. All right. That's all the news for this week. We move on to our final segment for this show, Game Pass Pick of the Week. We have a write-in. I want to just kick off with this, and then we'll hand it to Eugene, who has the official Game Pass Pick of the Week. But Nevitz has one for us. Gentlemen Dukes, how is Hellblade 2? I won't get to it until next week, because I've been playing Chicory, A Colorful Tale, before it leaves Game Pass, which we covered in last week's show. This game is very relaxing. You solve enjoyable puzzles with your paintbrush, have fun conversations with NPCs, and the game, to quote Cog, gets so out of pocket and with wild boss fights. I didn't even think this was a game with boss fights. I thought this was going to be a game my girlfriend could play, but there's no way she can beat these bosses without dying multiple times. Turns into a real game. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and holy shit, they're shooting lasers at me in this cozy game kind of day. So yeah, Chicory's still on Game Pass if you want to check it out. Before it's removed at the end of the month. This is one that I pointed out as one. I have a close friend who really likes it. Thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I have it. I tried it a little bit. It's good, but I haven't finished it. So,
but what have you finished? This Game Pass Pick of the Week, sir. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, my Game Pass Pick of the Week is Pac-Man Museum Plus. If you're Cognize age.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, you remember how Pac-Man sounded in the arcades, and this game recreates the arcade feel completely in the audio experience. This is the experience I want. I want to hear Pac-Man all over the place.
Wow. Let's go. Let's get it.
but it really recreates like the sounds of the arcade, but it has all these Pac-Man games, right? The cool thing though is that you can even customize your own little arcade in it. So you're literally creating the Pac-Man museum. So you're creating you're Pac-Man and you're walking around to these different Pac-Man machines, and that's how you play the games. And they got all the Pac-Man games, really great, right? But as you're playing them, the higher your score, or even just the more you play them, you're unlocking achievements. And those achievements include like decor that you can add into your arcade. So you can add like different types of machines, the booth where you get the dolls to turn into tickets and everything. Little Pac-Man statues and everything like that. So it's 1,000% a great Game Pass game to check out. Just tool around and play some Pac-Man games and just create your own Pac-Man arcade. It's a little fun, especially if you're in the mood for Pac-Man. And Pac-Man is, it's funny because Hellblade 2 is a great game to show off to like your coworkers or your family or to your friends or your partner who doesn't really know video games, So it's definitely the game to show off to make people go, wow, you really come a long way since Pac-Man.
Oh yeah,
because Pac-Man is a game for everybody. It's a game that everyone remembers, and it's very formative. I compare a lot of video games to Pac-Man. The way the AI moved and everything like that, it was crazy.
Shout out to Blinky and the other 4.
Ghosts. Pac-Man Museum Plus. I was surprised to see it on the Game Pass, but I was like, yeah, definitely check that one out. It's fun.
Yeah, that's iconic. That's a legendary.
Chicory too. Check that one out too. That might have been my other pick, but again, I haven't really played it, so
Fair enough. OG, the legendary Pac-Man.
Very good, unique Game Pass picks this week. Appreciate Eugene. Appreciate Nevitz writing in. And now that's the end of the show, gents. Almost 4 hours of recording here. Not too shabby. A little bit longer than honestly I thought it'd be, but I'm sure the audience will definitely appreciate it. And certainly I do. I love talking to you guys. So it's time to wrap this thing up with a hashtag. I think we know we got to do DD Hellblade. I think that's the obvious pick, the hashtag DD Hellblade.
Yes, the theme.
Of course, the theme of the episode. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to connect with us online, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at G7Status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. Gene is at Gene Park. You can tag us there with the hashtag DD Hellblade. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. If you don't want to go through all of the tagging and switching apps or browsers or whatever the hell you're doing, you can go ahead and just tag in the comments down below. Just use the hashtag DD Hellblade. Let us know your thoughts on the episode as we wrap up. Gene, thank you so much for joining us as our guest this week. It was great having you. Any closing thoughts or final words, good sir?
Yeah, I actually want to close my thoughts with some nice words for Hellblade 2, because I was actually a little harsher on the game and Ninja Theory than I expected I would be. So as I'm thinking back, I'm like, you know what, I could leave with some positive thoughts, because ultimately I did give the game a 2.5 out of 4 stars. I did think it fell on the more good side of being game than not. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think Ninja Theory is great, but I don't think they're terrible, right? So that's where I'm at. 1, Hellblade 2 is a fun game to play. I just got this new recliner over here, Valencia Theater seating.
Valencia, okay.
Valencia Theater. So
like that.
Set me back $1,500, but it is an Alamo Draft House style theater.
I love that spot. What you know about that?
It's got a USB. It's got a USB connection. It's got LED lights underneath and electric stuff, and it's got like a little dinner tray. So I actually booted up Hellblade 2 again last night after finishing the review and after all my thoughts, because I thought this is a great game to just sink into a nice chair and just like chill and walk and do puzzles and do some chill combat, right? So as a visual audio experience, it's definitely really cool. 2, the volcano sequence. I was really hoping that we would kind of go into spoilers, because that's where I would talk a little bit more about like my appreciation and my problems for Hellblade 2. But the volcano sequence that Cog mentioned is masterful, I would say. That was when I thought this is exactly what Ninja Theory was probably hoping they were hoping for the whole game, and I wish they had it, but they actually hit it in this segment right now. Gorgeous. If you got Game Pass, the real Game Pass of the week is Hellblade 2.
It is.
Check it out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Cog, and as always, great chatting with you. I think next week is actually going to be our prediction show. I was looking at this. I was looking at the schedule. I was like, I got to talk to Dustin real quick and just see like how we're going to map this thing out. Because usually we drop our next show, like we skip a week and drop.
That's right, because the big showcases are coming.
Showcase.
Right. We let our
at that time
for a little bit. We'll be traveling the week of the show itself. So yeah, we'll be tied up. So I'll have to talk to Dustin about it. But
are you guys going Summer Game Fest?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be out there.
Yes.
Oh shit!
The Dukes will be out there.
I wish I could go.
I'm
glad you guys will be out there though. You guys will have all the LSM coverage then.
Yes.
And Brad, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, I only found out recently Brad was going. I was like, that's sick. Yeah.
We get some.
Brad's in LA. He's got to go.
Oh, that's right. He right there. Yeah, that makes sense. No, great show again. And shout out to Gene, man. I love the passion, brother. Yeah, always. Like, this man is a gamer through and through. You know what I'm saying? The thing I want to shout out is just shout out to the community that actually said some really cool things to Maddie. I saw.
And to you too, Cog. The people were making sure that you're okay too. But yeah.
Oh, much love. Yeah. I just felt like it was a moment that, look, we love video games because we're passionate, all of us, right? And some things are going to be divisive, but I think that when Maddie expressed what he expressed, and we commented, because it's like, we got to be careful with the community disrespecting dudes, calling dudes out their name, personal attacks, and to see people rise up and like, nah, community, we ain't doing this to Maddie. Like, relax.
It was very surprising.
Yeah, like I see people stepping up, and I got the news later. I got the calls like, what's going on? Who? What? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, nah. We got to address this, and that's why I put out the comment I did. And it reminded me of what I went through. He went through what I went through the week before, right? You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's exactly it.
So it goes to show you, like, look, we love video games, right? It's a passionate thing. This is supposed to be the unifying thing. Remember, G, like the nerds, this was our thing. We love this thing. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, we can't be killing and attacking each other on a disrespectful over something that literally unifies us versus everybody else. And it was cool to see everybody kind of wake up and say, yeah, this was out of pocket.
we wouldn't be talking to each other. We wouldn't be talking to each other if it wasn't for the video games. Love or hate them, you know.
Preach.
Love or hate them,
Yeah.
you know.
Some of my best friends in the world would have never crossed paths if it wasn't for video games.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm sure I'll talk about it more extensively in like another episode if someone like writes in about it. But it was really nice to see a lot of people. Again, I wasn't really expecting it, and that doesn't mean it wasn't appreciated. But it was just like, I don't expect people to go to bat for me. I don't. I get it. Like, I'm very outspoken. I'm more. I would say I'm more just firm on my opinions, and that I think people take that as a challenge when it's not. It's just like, this is how I feel, and like I just feel in this day and age on the internet, like you can't leave room for compromise on your takes because people are just very disingenuous and will try to like malign it and change it into like what it's not. And so I think you have to be very matter of fact. And so it was really nice to get like, I got even a couple emails from like people in the industry. So it was really nice just to see people kind of reach out in that level and be like, hey dude, like you're good and don't worry about it. And because I deal with that all the time. Again, like it's not like that was anything new. It was more like, okay, in mass, enough people trying to tell me like I'm like, I saw one saying like I was lying about liking Hellblade 1. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, we're just trying to distort reality now. Like,
why would you lie about liking the first like a game?
Well, it's also anyways, like I literally have
what does that mean?
Videos on my channel of me reviewing the game and being like, I fucking love this game. Like, making up shit about people to try and like create this narrative. It's strange. And I just appreciate, I didn't expect like Ryan McCaffrey to reach out and shit. Like that was very nice. So a lot of people just being kinder to me than I felt I really deserved in that moment. So that was really sweit. And it made it what was a pretty like, I'd say annoying, nagging kind of situation where I was like, really? Like, this is the response? Like what's funny is I was telling Gene behind the scenes, because I was like, I'm trying to soften my language. Like, I'm trying to make an active effort because I see some people just get fucking pissed at me. And I'm like, look, it doesn't do me any good. Like, I don't want you to be pissed at me. Like, whether you think I'm trying to farm outrage or not, I don't. Like, it doesn't benefit me. Like, my most popular videos are when I'm fucking like excited and I'm happy about things. And if you really want to look at it that way. I was telling Gina, like, I'm trying to put a serious effort into my Hellblade review to like soften my language. It's just like it was like a fucking wildfire. So it is what it is. I'll never compromise on my opinion or my take or my approach just because I know that's what people want. It's like, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to make you feel super fucking comfortable with my game takes. Cause I'm sorry, I'm super passionate about games. It's a game though. Like, it really, like, it is not, if you like it, go ahead. Cool.
You got to agree with me or you're a fraud.
That's the thing, man. Like, I get it. I certainly have been on that side of the fence where, like, this is one of those reviews where I was caught off guard with Deathloop. That was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I'm on an island. I was like, I'm fighting by myself here. Like, and there were others who agreed with me, but it was me and then an island like miles a mile away was like G-Man Lives. And then like miles and miles away, I think was Skill Up as well. It was like, there was just three of us and everyone was like 10 out of 10. It's like, fuck, man.
Oh yeah, Deathloop. Yeah,
Deathloop
I wish I reviewed Deathloop because I would have given it a 5 out of 10.
I'm with you on like, I found Deathloop underwhelming, but it was like, I was kind of prepared to be on an island with Hellblade, but it was funny as I wasn't, and I still got singled out. I was like, that's a strange fucking reaction.
That is weird that you got. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I don't need to ramble about it too much longer. Again, I can go into like, I think just the way conversations on games should go. But I want to say to anyone in the realm of the Dukes who did reach out, thank you. It means a lot because I don't really ask for it, but I will say it does make a difference when people tell people who are just intentionally being assholes to shut up. It does make a difference. And that's not to lead an army or anything. I'm just saying that your voice does matter. And it does make an actual impact on how we can interact in this community. And it's easy to ignore them. I choose to do it. You can go look at my Twitter account. I barely tweet anymore because it's just like you're just asking to get harassed at times. But just know that your voice is important. It is powerful. And it does make a difference, not just for me, but your experience. And so just thank you to those who really stood up for me in that moment. It was really kind and it was really sweet. And it made me very happy. It was I had to go and send like a round of messages to everyone, just like thank them for just taking some time out of their day to write the nice things they did. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week for what I believe will be our prediction episode. We're going to see how we're going to schedule this all out. But yeah, flying by the seat of our pants here, professional podcasting. Take excellent care of yourselves. We'll be back for episode 178 of Defining Duke. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.